that down.
Said the Russians got us.
You have someone mad at you.
I know.
You have a few people mad at you, actually.
Let's see here. I think we're back on, are we? Let's see. I think we should be back on. Yeah. Well, good news, the Russians got us, they said, but that's all right. Phenomenal.
Hey, we're back.
Big fan.
Cool. All right.
We got it.
We're not exactly sure what happened, ladies and gentlemen.
But it is some people said it was the Russians, but don't worry. That didn't happen. Back.
Gotta try to get people back on here.
Let's go ahead. And we're set. I love it. Internet, who knows? It's A-OK. Let's go back to this guy here. And is that on? Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
President of the United States of America, the most powerful job in the world, leader of not only the United States, but of the free world itself. The head of state of all Americans holds a massive political influence on the path that the nation is going to follow. The president gets to nominate ambassadors, judges, heads of agencies, negotiates treaties with foreign powers, handles the military for the United States, and enforces the laws passed in Congress. The president is the face of the nation to the world and determines most, if not all, the foreign policy of the United States of America. But still, this also has to be handled while balancing the domestic policies and the leading of the nation. The president is the only true national election in the United States, meaning the whole nation votes on the president. But this is, of course, determined on the state level through the Electoral College. The Founding Fathers wanted to make sure that the whole nation had a voice instead of only the populous cities and the populous states, thus creating the Electoral College. The president this cycle is going to be making history, as either Kamala Harris will be the first female president in American history, or Donald Trump will be the first president since Grover Cleveland in the 1800s to hold 2 non-consecutive terms. History will be made tonight, but who is going to be making that history is soon going to be determined.
And we are back. We're taking care of a little coffee break.
There's a problem right there, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
don't know if it was a problem or not. I think a little coffee break always does good for everybody else. But yes, where were we at, Neighborhood Nick?
Apparently plugging in my phone because it beeps.
That's fascinating. Look at that, man.
So, yeah.
Okay, so we are still currently looking at the race as it stands. The 2024 presidential election.
Yep.
There he is. We've got, trying to figure out what we've got, 230 to 205. And we're still trying to figure out exactly what state is looking next for turn. And I'm looking back, trying to figure out, now if we go back with some of our local elections, really there's not much going on here that's going to help with even the counties in which, I want to talk about though, if you look at salaries in general, this would be a very interesting topic. I'm wondering if the folks who support, is there a correlation between, lower wage earners, lower salaried folks, right, voting for a specific party versus not?
Yes.
Is there any data for that?
There's a lot of data for that.
So, because I'm just curious if minimum wage, and I'm not trying to knock it, but if you have a minimum wage individual who doesn't want to, increase what they do, or basically better themselves or try to support and build something from an entrepreneurial standpoint, and they just want to go with the status quo, is that individual more likely to vote for one side or the other?
That is going to be more likely to go, statistically speaking, towards the Democrats. What we're seeing is a very interesting trend line. It used to be your upper middle to upper class would go Republican, and your middle class and lower class would go Democrat.
Okay.
Again, since 2016, we've been seeing an interesting trend. There has been a very interesting trend where now you're starting to see the upper class, and when I say upper class, I'm talking about the very wealthy celebrities, people of very high status. They're shifting to Democrats. The lower class is still predominantly going to be Democrat. And then you have your middle class kind of getting split now between Republican and Democrat, depending if you're on the union side or if you're not on the union side.
Okay.
You're having an interesting blend in that category where Republicans are starting to really go into the middle class and a little bit to the lower class in some states, trying to peel off those trade workers, trying to get those not undereducated, but uneducated by not having a college degree, really trying to pry that out. And a very fascinating aspect that you're seeing right now, and the trend has been happening since 2012, is that you're having people who were typically, for the most part, Democrats. I'm talking more so on the ethnicity side, the Hispanic population, the African American population, the Asian population. Those, because of Barack Obama in 2008 and 2012, typically voted heavily on the Democrat side, and you saw that kind of start fading away in 2016. Joe Biden was able to kind of boost up the black vote in Georgia, especially in 2020. Kamala Harris is losing that. She's losing your different ethnicities. And you're seeing the Hispanic population shift to the right. You're seeing African-American males shift more to the right. You're seeing what's very fascinating, and this is actually probably the biggest headline for this entire election, is that this presidential election, for better or for worse, is being split down the middle by gender. You're seeing the majority of women vote for Kamala Harris and the majority of men vote for Donald Trump, you're seeing a very interesting split in that breakup of the electorate, where you have roughly about 70% of males voting for Trump and 70% of females voting for Kamala Harris. So it's really about what's going to be coming out on that front. Coming back to what I've been talking about earlier, it's all about turnout. Who can get more men out? Who can get more women out? Kamala Harris was caught on a hot mic saying she needs to make inroads with men. Donald Trump was caught on a hot mic saying that he needs to find ways to appease more of the pro-choice side of the electorate, because now abortion is, for better or for worse, not an a topic of discussion in politics since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, since it's been returned to the states. He's taken a much more a liberal stance on abortion, trying to get more women voters over to his side. And so we see that kind of interesting political play happening throughout this entire election.
So in reality, then, if you think of it, we're talking about women. It's gender voting. Women vote for Harris. Men are trying to be pushed to vote for Trump. And then
that's a lot of the data that we have seen lately.
And the data is also pushing, saying, hey, look, we've essentially got lower income earners are going to vote Democrat.
Typically. But again, we're starting to see that transition a bit. With the uneducated, and this is the big one, uneducated white voters are going more towards Republican when otherwise they usually would go Democrat. That's an interesting trend in a different direction going on. And we see that kind of appeal to lower class, middle class by the Republicans, while the upper class and upper middle class kind of shifting more towards the Democrats. It's a very intriguing. We don't fully know all of it yet to say one way or another that that's going to be a common historical trend. It could be that Donald Trump's an anomaly. It could be that this is the future of the Republican Party. We could be seeing one of these once-in-a-generation transitions of the political parties, where Republicans are going more for the middle class and Democrats going for lower and higher echelon voters. It's a time that we won't fully understand for another few decades, quite honestly, to see where these trends are going to go. Because if it is just the Trump anomaly, then in 2028 we could see this ricochet back, and transition to where you have more of the upper class, the businessmen, shifting back towards Republicans, and lower class and middle class shifting, union workers shifting back to the Democrats. It could be a one-off. It could be something that we see the Republican Party hold on to. A very interesting fact that people don't see all the time is we do see a massive change in the Republican Party platform. It's not about small government anymore.
Well, it's gotten also more violent.
It's gotten more violent.
Everything's gotten more violent.
Everything's gotten more violent. But the Republican platform used to be, if you go back to George W. Bush, if you go back to the ideas of Mitt Romney and John McCain, go all the way back to Ronald Reagan, you used to start seeing more small government push. Now we have seen big government on both sides. So we're looking at a Republican Party that kind of mirrors that of Teddy Roosevelt, and a Democratic Party that is mirroring that of Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. Not so much a JFK style, but it's an interesting transition, shall we say, that we're starting to see. Policies on the border. Ugh.
I know.
Policies on the border. It depends on what time frame we're actually looking at. Some of those time frames are more open border for Democrats. And when I say open border, I don't necessarily mean like, hey, just come on over. There's still laws and processes, but it's more lenient on that front. Quite honestly, I think we're going to see illegal immigration continue under both administrations. It's a very large border, very difficult to handle. But I do think that you would see more restrictions under a Republican administration, but that is still dependent upon the Senate and the House of Representatives. Neither side is going to get what they want if they don't get Congress. If you don't get Congress, everything is just stonewalled for the next 2 years, at least. So we'll find out. We'll see what exactly is going to happen. But if the trend is going the way that it is right now, we see Trump kind of leading up in the presidency. We see the Senate already going to the Republicans. The House of Representatives, that's going to be kind of our tall tale, shall we say, where it could go either which way. Right now, if I trying to get my house map. I did that. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the House right now. We're sitting at 174 180 Republican, 157 Democrats.
Where?
On 270 to win. 270 win is calling 180 Republicans to 157 Democrats. So we could be looking at a continuation of the Republican majority. If the Republicans can hold on to their majority, regardless of how big or how slim it is, they would have both houses of Congress.
Yeah.
Which would be monumental. One thing that a lot of people probably quite honestly would love to see is everything go to a period of stagnation and calmness where you have Republicans in Congress and Harris win the presidency, where nothing happens for the next 2 years and everyone can take a breath. But it looks like right now the trend line is the Republicans are going to hold Congress, and the presidency right now, I'm not going to predict anything right now, but it looks like Donald Trump is currently still leading in the Rust Belt. We're going to keep an eye on that. It's not over yet, but we'll find out. We'll find out how that's going to keep on going. But right now, Republicans are holding on to the House, it looks like. The Senate map is definitely leaning to the Republicans. They already had 50. And the presidency, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm looking at these maps here, and I'm just trying to figure out what is going on. Like, there is really no action, man.
Nebraska, the second senator from Nebraska has been called for Republicans. So that puts them up at 51 right now, all things staying the same, which means even with Montana, you're looking at 52 Republicans. They already have the majority, so what's going to be very interesting is seeing who is actually going to be the leader of the Senate. Is it going to be Rick Scott? Is it going to be a new Republican leader? Because Mitch McConnell has already decided he's not going to be continuing on with Republican leadership.
Sure.
So that's going to be a little bit of an internal Republican debacle. But what we can see right now is the Republicans have control of the Senate. They're trending to having control of the House. We can't confirm that yet, but that's where things seem to be leading to. And the presidency, again, who knows? Who really knows for sure? But right now, Trump's got a pretty stable lead simply because he did get North Carolina and Georgia. Those were big battleground states. He just needs Pennsylvania to technically end everything because he's going to get Alaska. If he doesn't get Pennsylvania, something else could happen. We don't know.
You should put that map back up, though, because I am not, again, no action. Harris got 2 more points, 210, 230. I'm trying to read between the lines and listen to what you're saying here. It sounds to me like where we're stuck is waiting for some of these votes to be fully vetted. Is that what the deal is?
They're still counting. There's still going to be counting going on in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Those are the big ones. For all intents and purposes, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to say this, Nevada and Arizona don't really matter.
Why is that?
Because right now it's all about the Rust Belt. It's all about what happens in Pennsylvania, Michigan,
Has there ever
Wisconsin.
been another election that actually had like Rust Belt similarities? Like, is this even a thing? Because this is where all the hard work is.
So in the past, you used to tell who could win depending on who would win Iowa and Ohio.
Right.
Now it seems to be Pennsylvania. And again, this could be a Trump anomaly. It could be something more permanent, we don't know. But as of right now, the Rust Belt seems to be the main ones. In the 2000 election, it was all about Florida. The hanging chads between Al Gore and George W. Bush.
Yep.
In 2004, it came down to Ohio.
That's right.
And John Kerry and President Bush on that one. Obama didn't really have to worry about all of this stuff. He came in with a pretty clear majority. He won Ohio. He won Florida. He was doing pretty well on all fronts on that one. Nevada, Arizona, important states for the United States of America. But in this election, quite honestly, they're not integral. They're not integral so long as the Rust Belts kind of go how we expect them to, which right now is not how I was expecting. I was not expecting there to be a lead for Trump in all three. I was thinking maybe one or maybe two, but not all three. A very interesting historical thing as well. These three states have gone to the same party for almost 40 plus years. They have not separated, meaning Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan have either gone Republican or Democrat as all three. They have never really been split up, which is very fascinating to see how that all kind of works out. But as of right now,
so essentially, while we're waiting, the next step is, what's the next?
New
big
Mexico
one
has been called for Kamala Harris.
Right. But what's the next big step? In terms of you've got 210, 230. Pennsylvania, once that hits, Michigan, Wisconsin.
If we find out Pennsylvania,
because those are being projected, but they're not called yet.
No, they're not going to get called. Probably, I don't know if they're going to get called tonight. Honestly, Pennsylvania. Whoever wins Pennsylvania now, wins. That's kind of how it's going. Whoever wins Pennsylvania is going to win this election, unless, and this is the thing, if Donald Trump gets Nevada and Arizona, then he just needs Wisconsin, Michigan, or Pennsylvania. If he gets Pennsylvania right now, he's pretty much guaranteed to win.
Right.
So that's kind of where everything is sitting pretty right now.
Just a giant holding pattern. In reality.
Now, hypothetically, and this is still a very, very possible outcome, Kamala Harris sweeps the Rust Belt states. She wins with 270, and Trump wins Nevada 270 to 268. That's where we're going to see governors launch lawsuits, which would be the closest election since JFK versus Nixon. Electorally speaking.
So wait, basically 2 points off.
Yes. That would be the closest election since JFK and Nixon.
Wow.
Which was very similar.
What was that, 50s?
Yes. Yes, after Dwight D. Eisenhower. So that would be a scary outcome for the country, quite honestly, because it would be that close. I think you would definitely see animosity from the Trump side, especially. But we'll see. We'll see. If either side can win in a blowout, that would be honestly the best outcome for democracy. Because, democracy ends for 50% of the country anyway.
Can't make anybody happy.
We simply cannot.
It's 50-50, regardless.
It is.
And you can't explain it. You can't what's the word? You can't really explain it. You can't try to reason with anyone, unfortunately. What was it? A person convinced of their opinion still is of the same will. I think I got that wrong, but you get the point.
Yes. Yes. So we still have. We're now at that point where the suspense is predominant. The suspense is predominant now.
But now looking over the Electoral College right now, I got the 210, the 230. Both of these, these are, just to make sure I have my numbers and my data correct, 230 is what has been called, not projected. So we're not looking at final numbers for Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin.
No, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, those are still counting.
And where does that put us on this race?
As of right now, the presidential general election side, you're at 84% in
Okay.
Pennsylvania. Michigan, you're still, it looks like in the 50s. So Michigan's going to take some time. Yeah, Michigan's still going to take some time. And Wisconsin's kind of speeding things up a little bit. They're moving a bit faster, almost 80%, according to 270 to win. So we might see Wisconsin tonight. Not 100% sure, but we might. Very close across the board. These are your new swing states, ladies and gentlemen. These are the states that are in the future going to be critical. It's no longer Iowa. It's no longer Ohio. It's no longer Florida. It is Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan that we are going to be seeing. Did have a few questions, got texted to me. Not in the chat, but texted to me individually. Why do some states take longer to count than others? It's an interesting question.
Is it based on technology?
Sometimes. Different states have different regulations. Some states count their mail-in ballots as they receive their mail-in ballots. Other states count them after their polls close. Nevada, because it's a fun state that no one really, I think, ever wants to truly live in, but you live where you can. They don't count their ballots as they come in. They count their ballots after the polls close. Then you have states that have technology using voting machines, electronic voting, that calculate and tabulate your votes. Then you also have machines that print out your ballots, and you have to hand that physical ballot to someone else. So all of these put together, you're going to have different timing for how all of that breaks down and how long it takes to count votes. As I was saying, one of my colleagues, he texted me when he said his district in Wisconsin was finished counting. And that was like 3 hours after their polls closed.
Right.
Other districts that are in the more urban areas, such as like Detroit, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, those are going to take longer to count because you have a lot more people going on. So right now we could also be looking at the mail-in ballots, and that's another important trend. The mail-in ballots for this election cycle, the Republicans really stepped up their mail-in ballots. So we don't necessarily know if that means that they weren't getting their in-person vote tallies up, which back in 2020, there was much more predominance for Republicans on the in-person voting and Democrats on the mail-in ballots. And so the mail-in ballots came in and swept away all of the lead that Trump had, which is why we got our predictions wrong in 2020. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. Another question that I got talking about different policies between Harris and Trump. There's a lot. You also see kind of copycats going on, such as the no tax on tip.
Right.
That's one. A new one that is, well, not necessarily new, but it's kind of being thrown out there as a possibility, the elimination of income tax. Could be interesting, to say the least. I'm not 100% sure about that. Then we have different, what shall we say, policies. We talked a little bit about policies on the border, but different border policies are going to be whether or not, such as the I believe it was HR 1 bill, where border enforcement, Kamala Harris and Republicans negotiated a border solution. It did stipulate for certain amounts of funding, which I think both sides agree you need more funding on the border, but it also put certain limits on immigration. So you had a certain threshold that had to be met before the enforcement mechanisms actually sprung. More conservative Republicans thought that was a bad idea. Democrats thought it was lenient enough to give people a chance to seek out asylum. So you have aspects of that, depending on who wins, could see the elimination of that. You might see more rigorous enforcement on the border for a Republican administration. Taxation is going to be interesting. Kamala Harris floated the idea of taxing unrealized gains, which for the business community, this was, for a lot of people not fully understanding this, Kamala Harris did emphasize that this was not going to be on, your normal people who have stocks in the market. This is for people making, over like $500 million in stocks. So you're not going to see a Roth IRA taxed for its unrealized gains. These are big time businessmen, big time people on that front. So a little fact checking, shall we say, with that one. But we also see domestic policies. You're going to see a lot of rhetoric, quite honestly.
Right.
Neither side has really put out a lot of policy ideas. The policy ideas that have been brought forth from the Trump administration or the Harris campaign, it's a lot of rhetoric. It's not really a whole lot of actual policy agenda kind of things. Kamala Harris is going to continue going with a lot of what Joe Biden has done, which Build Back Better, your infrastructure bill. You have the CHIPS Act. Good things happening with a few of those, especially the CHIPS Act, trying to maintain a lead in AI, trying to maintain a lead in computer manufacturing. That is something that I think all Americans agree with. The Internet Infrastructure Bill, that was a big thing that I think a lot of Americans were for. The Inflation Reduction Act, kind of not the best play on words, but you definitely have an aspect of that where a lot of Democrats thought that was great, and they wanted to keep moving in that direction. That's a very popular thing for your millennials, your Gen Z Democrats. So you might see that more with a Harris administration. With a Trump administration, it's definitely going to be much more about the fossil fuel industry, maybe pushing even more so towards nuclear, which would be very interesting. Sorry to you libertarians, there's not going to be a Malay of Argentina moment with either Trump or Harris.
What the heck is that?
I'm sorry?
Malay of Argentina?
Malay is the president of Argentina. He's a major libertarian who believes the government needs to have a very minimum role in everything. So he destroyed a lot of agencies in Argentina. It was really all in a major fight to go against inflation and try to bring back the Argentinian economy. That was his main focal point. You're not going to see that with either Harris or Trump. Like I said earlier, the small government idea is gone. That's just not going to happen. Social policies could be interesting. You have Trump floating a 15-week abortion ban as popular. The pro-life side is going to hate that. They think that's much too lenient. Your pro-choice side might see that as a healthy compromise. Majority of Europe is 11 and 10 weeks, so you might see a bit of a difference on that front. But it'd be fascinating. It'd be very fascinating to see how that goes on that side of things. Again, the abortion side is kind of a state-driven thing. You're not going to see a federal abortion ban or bringing abortion into the federal constitution because you're not going to be able to overcome the filibuster. And the Senate, now being Republican, they don't have 60 votes, so you're not going to see an abortion ban federal. You're not going to see abortion made into law because there's not enough Democrats for that. So that's more of a moot point. I know a lot of people were very concerned about LGBTQ rights. Right. With a Harris administration, you're going to see that much more highlighted. With a Trump administration, you'll see, I would say more so for homosexuality, not so much on the transgenderism side of things, kind of different stipulations on that front. So that'll be interesting to see
Yeah, but man, again, a lot of this is hypothetical. You get a lot of stuff that happens based on, whichever party gets from an administration standpoint. But as it stands right now, we find ourselves right where we were 4 years ago. 9:30 almost on the western United States here on the time zone, and it's no movement at all. We've got still Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and and Michigan too, Georgia. All of those not being set into the. But really, we're coming down to what? 1, 2, 3, 4 states, and that's what's going to call it. Is that what I'm saying here? If those 4 states, is that how this goes down, Neighborhood Nick?
It does appear that you're going to have Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. Again, those are going to be your determining factors. Nevada's like your little bonus state right now. It's not really integral, quite honestly, on the Nevada side. So, I'm sorry, Nevada.
No, it's fine.
I got my master's from University of Nevada, Reno. So I like Nevada.
Well,
It's a special place in my heart.
It's a fair place to go.
But, yeah.
I love it. Okay.
It's,
well, I think, again, looking back over this, there is not any movement whatsoever. We're pretty much looking still at basically we've got 230.
We will see more of the local elections.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to just take a quick peek. The Senate still 51, so we're still waiting on things on that front. But let me look at the House. The House is going to be kind of the big one. We're starting to see Oregon, Washington, California start filling up. So we're at 184, 166. Alaska is going to be interesting. Alaska has ranked choice voting. So what that means is that you choose your top nominee, and then you pick your second, your third, and it kind of alternates a bit. If your first nominee doesn't win, then all those votes for the first nominee, they go to your second choice, and so on until someone has a 51% majority. So, I have no power over anything right now, people.
Interesting. I love it. Well, I guess in reality, there's not much more we can do about this. We keep a look at what's cracking on this end of things. But let's, if you don't have another bumper to run, I'm going to get some more coffee. I think, because until we get some more action on those 3 states, as you're calling it, what, the Rust Belt?
The Rust Belt, yes.
Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Once we go there, until then, there's not much more we can be doing.
Not as of right now. Not as of right now.
And this is the same place we were at 9:30. It's almost every.
It's almost exactly the same.
Isn't that funny?
Almost exactly as 2020. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. At least this time, Georgia and North Carolina, Georgia's been called. Arizona's leaning towards Donald Trump right now. But we'll see what happens in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. That's going to be kind of our highlight, and we're going to do a little analysis on that front. So, with that, we're going to take a quick commercial break,
Yeah, I
and
think
we'll
so,
be
man.
back.
Let's bump into it, and we will return momentarily once we can actually see what's going on with the rest of these states and
Woohoo.
get some action on that. All right, we'll be right back. Stand by. I think I got the music right this time, right? Bus? Did I not do it? Ah!
Looks like Thank
I like
you.
that.
Thank you.
I like a little production you put into that, man.
I tried. And I did have some extra hands that took a few looks at that.
Oh, yeah?
So I had a few people. Mariah and Maria, actually, both. Coincidentally, Mariah.
Mariah.
Two different people in two different countries.
I dig.
But-
Well, thanks to them for that.
Yes, thank
That
you
was
very
good.
much.
Oh my
Thank you
gosh.
for your input.
What was their input, by the way?
Oh, and Nathaniel Verstappen. He also brought in some input as well.
Oh, did he? Well, I was not privy to any of this.
No, I didn't include you in any of this.
I've been absent. I don't know. what's
I
going
didn't
on.
want your input.
Well, thank you for that. I don't.
You were busy enough.
Thank you.
Yes.
Indeed. All right. So, what was the input? I'm curious.
Oh, mainly like different kind of shades on certain letters and locations of words on the different electoral results and the rest of the world of that sort.
Oh,
Things
well.
of that nature. The pacing. Verstappen, he likes the things fast.
He does.
He
Very
likes
much
things
so.
way
Are
too
you kidding me?
fast.
Oh my God.
Jiminy Christmas. So fast.
Well, to that end, nothing has changed. We're still very much still sitting on
We're in the waiting game.
210, 230.
We are in the waiting game. I am going
Wisconsin and Minnesota and Pennsylvania. And I have folks saying that it's not going to happen tonight. Mail-in ballots, there's things like a lot of people are saying, hey, this is still too hard to call. I'm like, I don't know.
And as we said, there's different timings. You're going to see all sorts of different timings. I would like, if we could, can I pull up my map here, Mr. Crispin Smith here?
Yeah, we got it. There it is, man.
We do. We're looking at Pennsylvania here, and the reason why I want to look at Pennsylvania, this is your president general election. As I was talking about earlier, Philadelphia is going to be the big question mark tonight. If they had massive turnout for Kamala Harris, we could see this flip from leaning towards Donald Trump right now to Kamala Harris. That could actually happen. There's no guarantee, but that definitely is a factor. Philadelphia has massive turnout. If the female vote is there, Kamala Harris can swap this. Pittsburgh also. Now what's interesting, if we highlight Pittsburgh, look at the vote difference right there. We have Kamala Harris, 419,051 to Donald Trump's 279,292. That's a big difference. That's a big difference. Come back over to Philadelphia. We look over here. You see in the suburbs, especially here, the main Philadelphia one, over 300,000 vote lead. Trump has to get all of this stuff to somehow make up that spread. As they like to say, between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, it's Texas or Alabama in some places. So these rural votes really play a massive role in Pennsylvania. If Donald Trump could get the turnout
Sure.
bigly, gotta be bigly,
Huge.
bigly,
Then
we could see Donald Trump taking Pennsylvania. We could see that. We could. I don't
you
know.
know who does a really good Donald Trump impression? Oh my God, Brad O'Donnell. Shane Gillis.
He does.
Yeah.
He definitely does.
Big fan.
The Senate map, very similar. I mean, if you look at the Senate and the presidential one, just a few counties kind of looking a little bit different here. But what we see here is a small, if you look at the current lead for Trump and Harris, Trump kind of leaning a bit over 100,000. Senate race, close. Very close. You're looking 70,000, maybe less. So this is going to be a very tight race in the Senate. The Republicans have already taken back control of the Senate. This would be a nice pick-me-up for the Republicans. It's a very integral hold. Remember, senators serve for 6 years. You don't have to worry about the seat for the next 6 years. And because in 6 years, it's a midterm election, usually your incumbent can hold on to midterm elections a little bit easier when it comes to the Senate side. The House side, that changes very dramatically. But the midterms, especially if you have another Republican president going through reform. Your Democrat senator is going to do great. So the Democrats really need Bob Casey to hang in there. Checking over into Montana, this election kind of getting out of John Tester's hands. This is going to be another pick-me-up for the Republicans. They're going to go from 51 to 52. That's three Senate races that they have pretty much flipped over that they can use for a Republican majority. If Trump wins, that's going to be huge for his administration. I'm talking, this is the serious thing. Everyone wants to talk about Supreme Court justices, and we do have to talk about Supreme Court justices. Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito could retire if you have Trump win the presidency and the Republicans controlling the Senate. You could see 2 more, which would be 5 in total for Donald Trump. That's an unheard of number, talking about packing the court, just packing it legally. That could be very interesting, where you have 5 justices for the next 30 years, all from the same president. It's wild. It's wild. Most presidents maybe get 1, sometimes 2. To get 5 for Donald Trump, that would be crazy.
Dude, John Oliver did a really good thing on that too. I mean, it's a really good kind of explanation of how serious it was that the Supreme Court was packed the way it was, and if you end up getting essentially a Republican victory, dude, it actually is pretty monumental.
It could be,
in a sense. I mean, depending on how they want to play it.
because also, here's the flip side. If Harris wins, the Republicans can block all of Harris's judge nominees
Right.
if Alito, if Thomas, or if any of the other ones suddenly die or want to resign. Unlikely, but if they do, then they could block, which is how Donald Trump got Neil Gorsuch on the bench, is because Mitch McConnell blocked Barack Obama, preventing Merrick Garland from having an opportunity. So the Senate's a very important integral aspect. Looking here at Michigan right now, 62% reporting according to 270 to win. We're looking at this less than 200,000, about 150,000 kind of a lead, 165, somewhere around there. Not a gimme, but it's definitely a roll. Kamala Harris probably begging and wishing that Jill Stein dropped out of the race. RFK still on the ballot. That probably eats into Donald Trump for a bit. But looking here at the Senate, a little bit of a different story. So we have Trump 49.9 to 48.2. Mike Rogers kind of taking a bit of a lead over Elisa Slotkin right now. That could be another pick-me-up for the Republicans in the Senate. That is, once again, another change. We could see something happen right there. Again, 6 years. 6 years not to have to worry about this. And who knows what the country's going to look like in 6 years.
And a lot of chatter too with just general consensus. A lot of the Harris supporters looks like they're just kind of they're not necessarily giving up, but a lot of the Harris supporters are kind of packing it in. It looks like, which is kind of I don't know. I mean, I don't want people to be giving up just yet, but at the same time, it's interesting. I'm curious if there's anything else out. Trying to find on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it.
Which Elon Musk endorsed Donald Trump.
I know. Crazy sauce. So I really don't see a lot of short of just waiting for the inevitable.
We're still waiting. I want to look at Wisconsin here for your U.S. Senate. Eric Hovda kind of taking a little bit of a larger lead now against Tammy Baldwin. Tammy Baldwin's been an incumbent for the Democrats. She's been there a long time as well. So this is kind of painful for the Democrats if Tammy Baldwin also goes down tonight. But Milwaukee, over 100,000 votes. As I said earlier, that needs to be up in about 70% If Tammy Baldwin can get that to 70%, she's got a shot. She's kind of making up the ground in Dane County around Madison, but it's going to be close. It's not guaranteed to go either which way. So that could be something we need to just keep an eye on. Same thing with Kamala Harris. Wisconsin kind of getting away from her a little bit. She needs the Milwaukee County area, the Milwaukee City, Dane County. Those need to be in the 70s. She's at 66.1, so she's still got a ways to go in that realm. If she can get that, again, I think if she can get that up to 70%, getting a very commanding lead out of Milwaukee, she has a chance of taking Wisconsin. But it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, none of those are guaranteed right now.
Jeez. Well, I mean, and good thing for the ads, because God knows we need to be able to have some of the advertisements, right?
We always need ads. We always need to have ads.
Live ads. We love it. I don't see anything else. I mean, again, they've got polls coming in from U.S. House, District 3. I mean, that's pretty much just real time right now. You've got, it's still kind of split down the road. Were you talking about, have we had any upsets on the governorship across the state? Have we had any new changes of the guard from a governor race for the state?
So our gubernatorial races, the big one is going to be North Carolina. North Carolina changing. Mark Robinson, prior to the porn scandal thing that was going on, he was going to be leading that with Donald Trump. And since then, the takeover, the Democrats taking that one over, that one's big for North Carolina. North Carolina, though, changes its governors pretty frequently. They kind of go from Republicans to Democrats. So that's interesting. It looks like up in always very interesting aspect of Vermont and New Hampshire. Vermont and New Hampshire, they like their federal representatives, their senators, their presidents, the national side, to all be Democrat or Democrat-leaning. But on the state side, man, they like their Republican governors. They really like their Republican governors. New Hampshire, Republican. Vermont is a Republican. The ones we're still waiting, we're only waiting on 2 more races for the gubernatorial side of things. That's Washington, that's Utah. If we go to Utah right now, quite honestly, you're looking at Spencer Cox. Well, this is interesting, ladies and gentlemen. If we look at this.
What's going
on? This is a tie. If 270 to win is accurate, that's fascinating. Something's got to be kind of off. I think 270 win might be off. I'm going to have to do a search on that one. Spencer Cox leading Brian Keene, though, the Democrat. But Robert Latham kind of jumping in. If this is accurate, I don't think it is, because no one ever gets the same exact amount of votes. That's crazy. I think it's a glitch in the system, because all the counties are reporting those two having the same exact number of votes. So I don't think Latham is winning that one. I think that's just a glitch. The coding people messed that one up, I believe. I'm hoping. That'd be terrifying if they didn't. I think Spencer Cox is going to win that one in Utah.
So wait a second. So we have a possibility that Spencer Cox might not win.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Spencer Cox is going to win the Utah governorship. I think it's just a coding error where Latham is getting the same exact votes as Cox.
Got it.
Because looking at all the counties, they just have a mirror of everything. So not humanly possible for that to happen. So Cox is going to win Utah. The other one that we're still waiting on is the state of Washington. That one, honestly, is probably going to go to Ferguson. The Democrats going to win that one with Seattle and Olympia alone. Everywhere else is going for Reichert, but I don't believe Ferguson has a chance to win that one. So expect Ferguson to win that. looking at...
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's like if you have states that are actually changing their leadership, that's what I was trying to kind of make a determination on. It's like how many states are staying red, how many states are staying blue, and then vice versa.
North Carolina, that's going to be a big one. And, yeah. I believe North Carolina is the only actual kind of change for the governor side of things. This election cycle, not too exciting on the governor side, which is kind of sad. But, it happens. With it, you're probably going to get 27 Republican governors and 23 Democratic governors for this election cycle.
Sure.
So there's that aspect. Coming back over to our Senate, it looks like the big attempt by Larry Hogan did not work out in Maryland. He was a long shot. Everyone was hoping that Larry Hogan, the former governor of Maryland, was going to ink out a win here. Came under fire from the Trump campaign because he came out against Donald Trump, but later was endorsed by Donald Trump later on for this election. But down 17%, it looks like Angela Alsobrooks is going to take the Maryland Senate seat. Not too much of a change up on that front. That was kind of expected to see. But he gave a shot. He did give a shot. About 200,000 votes off. So almost 300,000. So there is that aspect there for Maryland.
So Senate basically gained 2 seats so far.
The Republicans have gained Ohio and they've gained West Virginia. So with those 2, they gained the necessary amount to have absolute control of the Senate, no matter who wins the presidency.
Sure.
That Ohio win is massive.
Pretty paramount.
If Brown had held on to that, there would have been a chance to have a 50-50 split, but that didn't end up happening. Ohio went to the Republicans for the Senate. So Moreno is confirmed. He's good to go. That hurts the Democrats in the Senate. Gives the Republicans, they don't have to worry about the vice president at this point. They can, well, not necessarily do whatever they want, but they have that opportunity to kind of lead the legislation on that side. Still looking out, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. Very close Senate races. I'm personally not expecting on the Senate side crazy flips. I think Bob Casey is going to kind of peel out Pennsylvania. Tammy Baldwin, she should, quite honestly, win in Wisconsin. The Michigan one with the battle between Slotkin and I'm blanking on the Republican's name. That one could go either way. And Michigan was one I thought could because it doesn't have an incumbent running in that one.
But looking over some of these numbers or these details in general, it's like you've got, really from a leadership standpoint, GOP is picking up essentially in the governor, looking close in the House, definitely as the Senate. It's not outside the realms of possibility to say that you've got a GOP lead on all 4 departments. Is that where we're at?
Well, the GOP is going to have the most governors. That's guaranteed. They have the Senate. That's guaranteed. They could win the executive with the presidency. It's leaning towards that right now. It's going to be, interesting. We're starting to finally get some Nevada data coming in, so that's cool. That we'll finally be able to talk a little bit about Nevada, which would be awesome. The House is still not guaranteed. It's trending Republican as of right now. The Republicans are trending to take back the House or to hold the House. Looks like they've won all of Utah. Sizable importance right there. Trying to see this Texas 34. I do want to highlight this race. Texas 34, if I can find it.
And this is just to recap. Texas 34 is what?
Texas 34 is a Democrat in the House right now. Vincent Gonzalez versus Mayra Flores. These two have done battle before.
Okay.
Flores used to be the representative for this district.
Okay.
She's trying to retake that seat, and Gonzalez knocked her out in the previous one. So this could be very, very close. It's 91%. It looks like Vincent Gonzalez is going to beat out Mayra Flores. But again, close race right on the border. It's very fascinating to see the border Democrats compared to city Democrats.
Right.
You have a very different kind of Democrat in those different districts. And the border states like to have their incumbents. They like to have the people that they've known for a long time, which is what's going on here. It looks like almost all of Texas is called except for that Flores race. I don't really see any new updates on Texas. Yeah, it's 189 to 168 now. The Republicans are starting to take a little bit more of a sort of lead. It looks like the Associated Press just called another state for Donald Trump. So Associated Press has him at 246 to 210. Trying to find my there we go.
Interesting.
And we're starting to get Nevada electoral or the data coming in from Nevada.
That was Georgia. Yeah, Georgia finally just.
Associated Press finally called Georgia. It took them a long time.
Yeah, so Georgia's finally in. So yeah, that's we're just a little bit closer. And really, if they're still projecting.
Now here's the thing, though.
Wisconsin.
I'm looking at
Michigan,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
They have about 90% of their expected vote in, according to
Who does?
Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania right now is pushing. I think they are honestly pushing to try to have this thing finished tonight.
Who is?
Pennsylvania.
Huh.
The winner of Pennsylvania is going to be massive. If Trump takes Pennsylvania, I don't think there's the path to victory for Kamala Harris is almost impossible. She would have to overperform in Nevada, overperform in Arizona, take Wisconsin, take Michigan. It'd be difficult. Not saying impossible, but with 19, that would put Trump right at 265. I mean, he just needs any. Besides Alaska. Alaska only has 3. But Harris needs Pennsylvania. If she does not win Pennsylvania, it's almost a guaranteed loss for Kamala Harris on that front.
Now, here's another interesting point. If this is going to be a loss for her, we already know it's going to be a bad day tomorrow for 50% of the population. We already know that. But you know, if we're looking at this from what are the next? I don't know. Well, Christmas is gonna suck. Is that what we're looking at here?
I'm not sure Christmas is gonna suck.
Or is it gonna just mellow out? We basically calm down after 5 days, 6 days, and people just mellow out, and we move on.
I feel like the Democratic side is more likely going to calm down quicker than the Trump supporting side.
That's interesting.
I feel like the Trump supporting side would have had a bit more animosity.
So the Trump side, more violent?
Not necessarily more violent.
Just more loud.
Yes. A lot louder. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Good observation, I guess.
Free and fair elections don't always mean you get what you want.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Not necessarily in the next few days. I mean, regardless of whichever side won, you would either have a somber Democrat or you'd have an upset Republican.
Okay.
You know, and I do believe the Republicans are a bit louder these days when they're upset than the Democrats. So there's that aspect. But I think the bigger question that we have to ask ourselves is how this happened. How did we get Donald Trump again?
Oh.
Because 2020, regardless, here's the thing. Regardless if you believe the 2020 election was rigged or not,
Right.
completely irrelevant.
Sure.
Because you still have to do battle with over 70 million people. 70 million people voted for Donald Trump. Over 70 million voted for Joe Biden. Whether or not you believe it was rigged or not, that is a referendum on Donald Trump. This is a referendum on the Biden administration, saying how bad it must have been.
Oh.
People probably were asking, when was I better off? And this is a very interesting historical note. No administration, no party has ever won re-election, and I mean party, not single person administrations, but party has won re-election when the pollsters ask, is the country heading in the right direction? And only 25% say yes, it's going in the right direction. No party has ever won re-election with that number. That's a bad sign for Democrats, and it's going to cause them to kind of look into the mirror a little bit about what's going on. On the other hand, we also saw a very different Donald Trump this election cycle. We did not see a Donald Trump very loud, very obnoxious, very all over the place.
With that mic, we had an interesting mic debacle on
We did.
The mic. There have been some Trumpisms that have come back.
There have been Trumpisms, but for the most part, it's been a very disciplined campaign. It's been hard-hitting against Joe Biden, which is to be expected. But it was much more controlled than in 2020. 2020 was a very, very different kind of election. And what we can see right now, I'm looking at 270 win, 91% reporting for Pennsylvania. They just gave me some updated numbers. We're looking at 220,000 vote lead. Here's the thing. When we left last year, or not last year, 4 years ago, when we left, you had a 300,000 vote lead.
I know. And we called it, and we're like, oh, that's it for that. And that was what, 2 a.m.?
We did. At about 2 a.m., 3 a.m., we thought that was it. And then later that week, it all changed.
Well, no, and this was also Georgia was a big one in the balance.
Georgia was a big one. When Joe Biden got Georgia, that changed everything.
Georgia's no longer in play, and I think that's huge in a sense.
It's pretty big. Pretty big.
Well, Neighborhood Nick, I don't want to get us out of here too soon, but dude, I feel like
we may be very close. If again, I'm not calling anything anymore because you never know these days. There could be broken pipes. There could be mail-in ballots. There could be miscounting Dominion machines. Who knows? Who really knows anymore? I do want to point out, if I'm looking at my fun little map here, where I have all my fun little prediction stuff going on. These are the last. I mean, Arizona technically, yeah, we can say Arizona's a toss-up. That's most likely Trump. Here's the deal. If Trump takes Pennsylvania, that's 270. It's over.
But we're already looking at Pennsylvania as, I mean, so far, a fairly strong lead.
It could be.
As a projection.
It very well could be at this point.
So once
if Pennsylvania gets called tonight.
Yeah, that's it.
If Pennsylvania gets called for Trump tonight, he's at 270. Because we already know Alaska, that's going to go Trump.
Right, so we're not even counting that.
He needs Alaska for those three. Even if he lost Alaska, now you're at 267. If he loses Alaska, unlikely. If he picks up Arizona, which the latest polls above the margin of error, or outside the margin of error, he was winning Arizona. So it's coming down to Pennsylvania, quite honestly. If he can get Pennsylvania, this election is done. Kamala Harris has no path to victory. Now, here's the deal. If Kamala Harris sweeps the Rust Belt states, she would win at 270. She needs to hold all three of those in order to win.
Now, here's another. I'm just talking about. You were talking about a performance with Trump, and I'm just trying to look at some of the data here. A very different Trump, very refined Trump. So, what about the debates? We haven't. He did very few debates this time.
And that's the question that the American people have to kind of ask themselves. We had a very, very wild primary,
Right.
primary, I don't even know what to call it, competition, where neither of the incumbents,
I know.
you have Donald Trump, who did not participate in any of the primary debates against Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, Ron DeSantis. Kind of questionable.
I liked Vivek. Wasn't he good?
Vivek is like another version of Donald Trump.
Was he?
A little younger, a little louder. But the fact that Donald Trump did not participate in any of the primary debates between Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, kind of a different tendency. But again, he did have the majority going with him in that realm. Joe Biden didn't participate in any debates. He won all of the Democratic primaries to be ousted after the debate in July. That debate may be the most, which is kind of odd to say, the most influential presidential debate in modern history.
Right.
Where you change out, because of a debate performance, the incumbent president for the vice president, who polls show time and time again, the least popular vice president in American history. Was that a good choice? I don't know. Did she make the election closer? There's a lot of conspiracy theories that Joe Biden was extraordinarily pissed off at this and intentionally tried to sabotage the Harris campaign numerous times.
Ooh, that's a good little thought. Little conspiracy.
A little conspiracy theory right there that
I didn't even think
maybe
about
he was
that.
trying to be like Lyndon B. Johnson, trying to help Nixon. Because we did find this out. Lyndon B. Johnson did help Nixon win
Right.
a
Actually,
presidential
that
campaign.
that came out of the archives. Mm-hmm. But wow. So he really comes down to where he's just basically upset about the whole thing.
It could be. I mean, when he wore the MAGA hat, it's a good political move, trying to show a little unity.
Wait, who did?
Joe Biden.
Did he really?
He was at a fire station and he put on a MAGA hat.
No, let me look this up.
Yeah. And that was a big part. And then he made sure that Kamala Harris was attached to every single
wow.
decision.
Would you look at that? He sure did.
He did. He was wearing the hat. It's
Wow.
very fascinating stuff on that front.
Okay. Well, cool. Interesting. So, well, again, I mean, there's a lot of conspiracies at play. If you want to.
There's some interesting things on that front. So, I mean, we're still waiting on our electoral vote process. I do want to highlight, this is an interesting possibility as well. Let's say Kamala Harris wins Pennsylvania. And hypothetically, let's say Donald Trump wins Wisconsin. And let's say Kamala Harris wins Michigan. And Donald Trump wins Nevada. Arizona comes into play. Arizona matters a lot.
Yeah.
That, quite honestly, that's another scary possibility. Very, very close. 271, 267. I don't think we're going to see that tonight.
Well, I mean, looking at Pennsylvania, it's getting close again because now we've got another 100,000 votes that they found. We've got 300,000 in Michigan. But really, what you're saying is Pennsylvania is the big one.
Pennsylvania, with its 19 electoral votes, one less than in 2020, is massive. Right now, according to 270 to win, Donald Trump's looking 3,328,000 to Kamala Harris's 3.1 mil. So it could be it's coming down to the turnout. And what people are going to be arguing, did the Republicans get the early vote turnout to be beneficial? Are the mail-in ballots that are hiding in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh enough to pull Kamala Harris above?
Sure.
Those are going to be the big question marks that we don't have the answers to at this very moment. But it could be an integral aspect.
Well, there's 90% of the precincts reporting on this one, too. So looking at, they've got 10% left on this.
Pennsylvania's close. Pennsylvania's very close. It's going to get down to like 99.9%, and they still won't call it because they're going to be a little worried. Our House races, a little update on that. We have 192 Republicans to 168 Democrats in the House of Representatives. So we're looking at, very close. Very close to Republicans getting back the majority. The current hold is 221-214. So these last 75 remaining seats, there's only 17 real toss-ups left. And if everything goes according to how everyone's forecasting it, the House technically is still looking to go back to Democrats. But that's only based on the forecasting. We don't have the exact numbers yet. Republicans are still leading. A lot of those Midwest states, a lot of the rural voters, a lot of the South has gone Republican. We're still waiting on more of New York. We're still waiting. California. Those California House of Representatives, 2022, the Republicans in California really failed, quite honestly. It was an abysmal showing for Republicans in California in 2022. Do they make that comeback? Are they able to reclaim some of these seats in California to hold on to that majority in Congress? Or do the Democrats kind of sweep it over and take back a lot of territory? Not 100% sure. The House control, you need 218. It's first to 218. And right now, Republicans at 192, it's going to come down to the wire. It's going to be pretty close to see how this is going to play out. We don't know. We don't know for sure. If I had to bet, it looks like the Republicans are taking the ride of momentum right now. So far, that's kind of where things are leaning, is that momentum moving towards the Republicans. But California, we could see some crazy things going on. Looking at the state of California in particular, I'm going to go through a few of these house races here. One thing that was very interesting is that Senate candidate Katie Porter, she was running in the primaries for the Democrats. She felt like maybe there's a little threat, maybe a little worry. So looking this over, California might be up for grabs for a few of these Republican locations. Doug LaMalfa, he's been in there forever. Man, that guy's always there. Kevin Kiley, very interesting district.
Doug LaMalfa, does he run, or does he just win by de facto?
It's hard to tell with District 1. It didn't really look like a competitive race this time around. District 1, ever since 2020 with the redistricting, things got changed up a little bit, but it looks like he got gerrymandered to an even more Republican district to try to eliminate competition in other areas. Kevin Kiley got gerrymandered into a really wacko district in District 3 that encompasses the Plumas County area up by Reno, Nevada, all the way down to almost to San Diego. It's a very wacky district. It's very interesting. Thompson, Ami Bera, that one also looks like he's going to have a pretty solid lead. That's always been a tough one, but it looks like Ami Bera is going to take that one and hold on to that. I'm just looking to see, do we have any upsets? Kevin Lincoln against Josh Harder, maybe. Kind of. There's a possibility that could be a flip. They've already called Nancy Pelosi, even though there's 0% reporting out of that one, but take that as you will. Swalwell won. We might see a Republican lose territory in California 13. John Duarte kind of struggling against Adam Gray. Again, these people have run before. They continue to run. I don't know who keeps funding the same people, but, they just keep on going. Rokana, not surprised there. Vince Vaughn has won in District 20. Any upsets? As of right now, not really. Not a whole lot changing in California. So, very close race in California 27. That could be an upset for the Democrats to take that one and maybe get a lead.
California 27?
California 27. We're looking at Mike Garcia against George Whitesides. What a name. What a name.
Whitesides.
George Whitesides.
Whitesides.
I don't know anything of these gentlemen. I'm sorry.
Michigan's taking forever. I'm going back to taking a look at these numbers here. Michigan is still 63%. Pennsylvania is still 90%. Wisconsin, 87%.
And Wisconsin's picking up a little bit. So that we could see Wisconsin could be interesting. But I don't see California Republicans really stepping up. And this is something that the California Republican Party has been in implosion mode since 2008. Quite honestly.
Help define. What are you talking about? Implosion mode.
The California Republican Party has really never made any inroads. The last time they made any kind of inroads in California to change a statewide election or anything was probably maybe 2012, but not really anything else. It's the California Republican Party, unlike Florida, unlike Texas, New York. New York had an amazing 2022 for the New York Republicans. The California Democrats outperformed and outshined in 2022. It wasn't even close. So there's that aspect where the California Republicans, and they've gone through so much leadership change. Almost every 3 years, there's a new leader for the California Republican Party. They can't seem to get anything going.
Fill me in though. Who's the current leader?
I do not know the current one. Let me look that up. It looks like there's another possible California upset also. California 45. Michelle Steele might lose to Derek Tran. That one would be a big upset. The Republicans kind of need that to hold on, but yeah, I don't think California, the Republicans are not going to make much headway in California. Don't expect the Republican majority to go through California. It looks like the Democrats might actually retake the House of Representatives because of California. So there's that aspect going on in California.
Still, all eyes are on Pennsylvania. This is something. As we still just kind of sit at a standstill because that's it. We've got a bump up here at 91% now. Not 90%, but 91% of precincts are reporting. Still at 3.3 mil versus 3.1 mil. So we're about 200,000 point lead in Pennsylvania. Now this is super similar because we had. It wasn't a big lead, was it? It wasn't a big lead in Georgia.
Georgia was very close. Georgia was
how close?
very
How
close.
close were we in Georgia?
Georgia was like 40,000
Wow.
or less.
Really? So okay. So in Georgia we were looking at. In Georgia we were looking at basically a 40,000 point lead for Trump. We woke up and that's that. So now we're at 200,000 point lead. I'm just trying to draw parallels here and to kind of really sum up where we're at. You know what I mean?
Right. It's looking like it's going to be coming down in Pennsylvania, but the fact that Georgia and North Carolina went to Trump kind of rectified 2020 to a certain degree for the Trump campaign.
Sure.
Those were big victories for them. If he gets Arizona, that's icing on the cake. But ultimately, again, it's just going to come down to Pennsylvania. Whoever can kind of retake the Pennsylvania side of things.
Crazy sauce.
That's kind of where we're waiting. We just are still sitting, waiting, hoping, praying.
Well, I don't know if we're hoping or whatever. We just want this thing
People want to know.
We want it to be definitive.
People
we want
wanna
it
know.
to be definitive. And I think that's the most important part about the whole thing. Wrap it up, make it definitive. Let's make it quick and clean, and let's move on with our lives. Our miserable, whatever.
Oh, no. Full on certain way that's going
Full
to happen
on.
at this present moment.
Nah, not at all. But in the meantime, I've got this lovely shot of Washington, D.C. It's a live camera shot coming in. All is calm. We can use that as our little, we'll be right back kind of little thing, Pooh. What do you
Take a
think?
small commercial break.
Yeah, we can do that. Well, we're not running your thing.
No.
We don't want to do that. Are you kidding me? Because we've seen enough of that brilliant, but it's actually really good content you made. I'm not gonna lie, man.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan of that. And again, the whole group that assisted with you. But I think, you're watching the live 2024 election coverage with the SoundGuys, Neighborhood Nick, Crispin Smith. We're gonna go take a look at a live shot of Washington D.C., the White House, and we'll be back
Momentarily.
in a few bit. Sit tight. Let's see what time is it right now. It is about 10:26 on the West Coast. Let's plan to be back about 10:30, 10:35 at the latest. What do you say, Neighborhood Nick?
We'll be back.
We'll have news. See you soon. Well, we actually have a little bit of information, it looks like.
This could be breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, but we're getting reports from different sources. 270 to win also has this. They are calling Pennsylvania right now for Donald Trump. If we can can you go to my map here? This is kind of big going on. If this is true, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't touch this. This is 270 saying this is the live results. They're calling Pennsylvania for Donald Trump, putting him at 270 right now, meaning Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia. That was his path to victory. If this holds, if this is the case, Donald Trump just became the 47th president, or will be the 47th president of the United States, and the second president in American history to serve non-consecutive terms. It is also kind of a moment for Joe Biden where he could brag and be like, yep, I'm the only one who could do it, and you kicked me out. Could be that too. But as of right now, we do see 270 to win, calling it for Trump. I did see Nathaniel's comment, and it seems to have gone away. But good old Nathaniel.
Yeah, we've got a couple outlets now are reporting in. Yeah, this is crazy sauce. So yeah, this
we're still waiting for AP.
It's
We're
kind
still
of monumental if you think about it. It's off the charts, but we are looking at essentially, wow, okay.
It could be this. It looks like people are saying this is it. That this is the end.
93% of the precincts, Associated Press is not calling this as of yet.
Not yet.
270 to win has
270 win has him up about 190,000 votes up. Our U.S. Senate, they haven't called the Senate one, but they feel confident that they can call the president. Fascinating. This tells me that Philadelphia, Pittsburgh did not show up. This tells me that Kamala Harris was not able to get the necessary votes from the cities to come out to support her. She just wasn't there. And this is going to be the campaign. This is going to be the big question mark. Again, 270 to win's calling it. A lot of other people, we're still waiting for other news organizations to call it. AP still holding their breath. But if this is it, this is it. He's won. All the rest of the states can go whichever way they can. If we go back, where's my fun map here? If he's got Pennsylvania, which they believe he does, and go back. If Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nevada also go, 270 wins already got him at 281 because they called Arizona also. Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada. This would be similar. It would be a little bit more than his 2016 win. Be a slightly more than the 2016 win, which would be monumental for the Trump campaign.
wow.
Could be very fascinating to see. That's their forecasting, but 270 win. They are calling Pennsylvania 270 for Trump. We're at 213 for Harris. They don't want to call District 2 for Nebraska, but AP has called District 2 for Nebraska for Harris, putting her at 214.
You still have a 200,000 point lead in Wisconsin as well. I mean, it essentially once Pennsylvania goes.
It could be over for Wisconsin.
What do we have in terms of race to 270s calling it?
270 to win. I know other conservative branches have called it already. So the conservative side feels like they have won. We'll waiting on the more liberal side. But as of right now, I have not heard anything from Wall Street Journal, New York Times. Have not seen those yet. But 270 to win is calling it. They've been pretty accurate so far in this campaign season. We're still waiting on Michigan and Wisconsin. Again, it has been almost 40 years since any of these states split up. It looks like history's continuing on that path right now. Michigan and Wisconsin kind of heading towards the Republican in this election. So we could be looking at
Oh wow, and Nevada too.
Nevada's been shifting to the Republican Party.
Yeah, Nevada's not. They still have a modest lead for the GOP, but not nearly as. Well, again, I don't remember Georgia having that 40,000 point lead. So that's tight. Because you're looking at Arizona too. Arizona's right about there, about 30,000 points.
Arizona is going to be fairly close. I'm looking to see who's calling the presidential election. We're still kind of in a holding moment, but if this is the case, the 45th and 47th president of the United States of America is Donald J. Trump.
We don't have a graphic for that because we actually didn't. We didn't want to. Assume either way.
We didn't. No, we don't have any graphics for that.
We weren't going to assume either way. We're still running loops here on Georgia.
The loop is still going all over.
I'm trying to keep a look at that guy here. This is, like you said, groundbreaking stuff.
This could be big.
Man, I just want to, just so we can feel better about our broadcast.
I'm just waiting for more of the media
to
come out.
I want more of the media to come in and say, hey, look, this is where we're at right now. Because
they could be freaking out. People could be freaking out like 2016.
Yep.
There's one interesting aspect that I do want to highlight. If the polling trend, because the pollsters held this one a bit differently than they've held other elections.
Sure.
They were basically saying everything's going to be super close. It looks like everything's still relatively close. If the polling errors had shifted to the Harris side, like in 2022 pollsters overdid it for the Republicans. If the polling errors were the same in 2022, Harris should have won. If it's the same as 2020, Trump would have won in a massive landslide. Right now, they may have gotten this right. They may have gotten these polls spot on, which is kind of interesting to see. Because we've been, people have been complaining about pollsters for the last 8 years. But it looks like maybe they got it right. They may have gotten this correct this time around, which is pretty crazy. It's pretty intense to think this could be accurate, that the pollsters are back on their feet. They're back in the game doing correct polling science.
Now, fill me in here with let's actually talk a bit about a pollster in general. What does a pollster do? Because we've heard this before. Is this actually a position or a job, right, that someone actually has?
It's a job.
Okay. And obviously to be a pollster, you're only going to be a pollster for what? It's a seasonal job.
No, it can be permanent.
Can it?
Depending on how you're doing all your research and all your science and things of that sort.
Okay.
It looks like Adam Schiff is beating Steve Garvey in California Senate race, so that's not out of the realm possibility. That makes total sense, quite honestly.
So the pollster goes in and says what?
They ask questions. They find people to answer questions, then they weigh out how many of each party that they have, and they run linear regressions. They run stats on trying to figure out the answers for all of these. Eli Crane having a good lead right now over Jonathan Nez. Kirsten Engel, she might flip. That could be interesting if she kind of takes over in that district. Very close over here on District 1 of Arizona. Could go either which way on that one. We don't fully know. But that one's very close. Adam Gray looks like he's kind of leading. We'll see.
Very interesting. I'm still looking at our
I have not received any other notifications as of yet.
and the numbers have not changed either. We're still at 93% reporting. But still, at 93%, 200,000 points ahead. Looking like I mean, again, it's very much deja vu. It feels like.
AP not calling the race yet.
Because we did this last time. Did we not?
We did. It was a little different because we called it. No one else did.
Yeah, that's fair. We called it. Like the professionals that we are. We called it. I am not seeing, though, any... Where's the guy here? There's your Michigan race. I was trying to bring up that bump just a bit. So we can get just a little bit more of that graphic on the screen.
New York Times has not called it, but they are leaning towards... The New York Times saying very likely Trump, over 95% chance of winning. I think that's why 270 to win called it.
Got it.
New York Times is saying over 95% chance of winning it. I'm looking... That's big. That's massive.
Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Huh.
It's... CBS doesn't want to say what's going on.
So we're still basically, we've got CBS, we've got...
The New York Times saying over 95% though. That's kind of big.
94%. Associated Press is reporting 94% reporting. And
270 to win at 92%.
Still 200,000 points.
Yep.
And going back to your screen, folks, we are, I think, moments away from a thing.
Very well said there, Crispin Smith. We're very close to a thing.
We are so close to a thing, it's not even funny. Looking like we are probably more close to a...
This is a moment.
Well, and it's interesting to think because, again, I don't want to play the whole devil's advocate here, but we were here last time, 4 years ago. And we were excited. We were saying, oh, yeah, we can go home. This is done. Pack it up.
Now, granted, that was also at 2 in the morning.
True. What is it? It's only 10:45
California
Pacific.
time.
Yeah.
So we're ahead of the game right now. Still waiting on other states because, by golly, we want to know what the rest of the country thinks also. But here's Pennsylvania. I'm looking at Philadelphia. Philadelphia got up to 78. Montgomery, 60. And Chester County. Chester County kind of being the big toss-up one. That one was the one that helped Joe Biden in the past. Pittsburgh, though. Allegheny. This is where Kamala Harris, she needed to get this turnout much higher, was in Pittsburgh. That hurts. That hurt her chances right there. So if these results are accurate, and we're getting closer, I just got some updated tally, 368, 3.175, still holding on to a 200,000.
It is a very solid 200,000 point lead.
That's a lot of people. And that means that the turnout was not where it needed to be in Chester for Kamala Harris. It was not where it needed to be in Pittsburgh, in Allegheny County. She did great in Philadelphia. Look at this lead in Philadelphia for Kamala Harris, 521 to 135. Philadelphia, solidly blue. But she wasn't able to get Pittsburgh.
No.
And unless something big changes in Pittsburgh, this is it. This is going to be what kind of killed her. And it'll be interesting to see how this plays. How does the Democratic Party move on from this? What is their strategy moving forward? They ran on abortion. They ran on the women's vote. That was the highlight. They weren't running on many other issues.
Sure.
They were running on trying to prevent the fall of democracy.
Right.
They were very critical of Donald Trump in many, many different ways. What do they do to bounce back in 2028? It's not going to be Trump on the ticket in 2028.
No.
I mean, I'm speculating. I'm looking at who has been around Trump, who's going to be a possible nominee. I think you're going to see a resurgence again. You're going to see Nikki Haley come back. I think you're going to see J.D. Vance run. I think you might see Marco Rubio coming back to run for president. Maybe Ron DeSantis. You're going to have a little bit of a battle on the Republican side, but what do you do? What's the plan? And here's the final thing. If this is true, does this come down to Kamala Harris choosing Tim Walz over Josh Shapiro? Josh Shapiro being the governor of Pennsylvania, very popular Democratic governor.
Oh, wow.
Very, very popular Democratic governor. As Josh Shapiro, over 60% approval rating in Pennsylvania.
Well, why did she go with Waltz to begin with?
A lot of people believe, there's a lot of different conspiracy theories about it, but Waltz kind of having that Midwest vibe. She knew she needed to win the Midwest, which didn't turn out. Josh Shapiro kind of has the Barack Obama-esque personality.
Okay.
He's big on the leading side of things, maybe not so much on the following orders side of things.
Okay.
So maybe he's not a natural number 2. He's the natural number 1. There's that possibility. Some people would say it's because he's Jewish and she needed to solidify the pro-Palestinian votes in Michigan, which we don't have all of Michigan yet. We're still waiting on that.
Michigan's still trailing. They're about 67% of all the precincts reporting.
I have 75% in Michigan.
Oh, you have 70. So and I'm tracking Associated Press.
Yeah, and I'm on
as well
I'm on
as
270 to win.
NBC on this end. So looking at a couple of the different organizations that are kind of pulling together those tallies. Back on yours.
This is the House of Representatives, real quick, just getting a little update. We're at 197 Republicans, Democrats at 174. It's not a gimme. Still no guarantee. Right now, it could still go either which way. But what we're kind of looking at right now is that there's a stronger possibility that the Republicans are going to be able to maintain the hold of the House, but still, we're waiting on Washington, waiting on California, still some play in New York, Minnesota, Wisconsin still in play a little bit here, and Colorado. Colorado, ladies and gentlemen, is still an interesting aspect. Looks like Lauren Boebert somehow managed to pull out Colorado number 4. She was on the hot seat for a lot of Colorado during the primary season. So that's actually a big sign that there's a good chance the Republicans are going to hold on to the House. They've taken the Senate. It looks, again, we're looking at this. 270 is called Pennsylvania. It looks pretty certain right now. Pretty certain. I'm not saying it is, because heaven knows I made that mistake last time.
Yeah, we made that one.
But my gut says Trump won it. That's what my gut's saying right now.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, just looking at all and you've got the last holdouts like CBS and Associated Press. But I mean, we've got 94, and we're almost to 95%. And every time they bring up more of those leads, it's still a solid 200,000 points in Pennsylvania.
One thing I want to you can see on that far column over there what kind of changed. And you can see that they're forecasting Donald Trump at 281 to 226 right now. those are the electoral votes.
Right.
But it's looking pretty certain that Donald Trump is going to not just win. There's a high likelihood he could have over 300 electoral college votes, which would be monumental. That's a big statement of a win against the Democratic Party. But people are, this is going to be the question. Oh, there's going to be a lot of questions. People are going to go back home, specifically the DNC is going to go back home. They're going to ask, what would have happened had we kept Biden?
Sure.
Biden's going to go home and be like, yeah, you should have kept me. I won.
Right.
Then you're going to have another group of people that's like, had Kamala pick Josh Shapiro.
Right. Well, I didn't even know that was in the play. That was an interesting observation, because if and as it looks like it is, they're going to lose Pennsylvania to the GOP, and if that was a running mate that could have came from that state,
Yep.
that sounds personal to me.
Very, very high likability. And if she ends up winning the rest of the states, and it's all because of Pennsylvania, that will be what everyone is asking.
That's a major campaign faux pas.
To go with Tim Walz from Minnesota, which Minnesota, quite honestly, was never really in play.
Right.
Democrats have held on to Minnesota for a majority of the United States' life.
No, totally.
Pennsylvania.
Now, to that end, I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, let's just talk about Hawaii. Why is Hawaii always? I mean, as far as we've been doing this, and I can remember, Hawaii has always been blue.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the story there?
Well, it came into the Union as a Republican state.
Really?
And Alaska used to be Democrat.
And they flipped.
Yep.
Okay. And the reason for that, was there anything like historical?
I believe it kind of came around the same time that you saw the North and the South kind of split during the Civil Rights Act area.
Oh, okay.
So you have Hawaii, which is more ethnically diverse.
Got it.
You have a lot more people from different kinds of descent in Hawaii. Alaska is a little bit more homogenous in that regard.
Sure.
But also you have the major fuel industry. Oil is massive in Alaska. Hawaii, not so much. So there's
Fair.
that aspect as well.
I'm just going back and over and looking at kind of the East here. I want to look at Donald Trump again. West Virginia, overwhelmingly Donald Trump. Just kind of looking at some of those leads there. Kentucky looks like overwhelmingly Trump. Tennessee, Trump. North Carolina, Trump. South Carolina, a little closer by 400,000 points. Ohio, yeah, I mean, maybe 500,000 points. I'm just kind of, just highlighting where we're at. 500 in Indiana, Iowa, a little closer, 200,000. But it's pretty. And the reason why I even bring this up is to talk about the sentiment of the American public. If you look at what the voters are saying, Texas, Oklahoma, the places where you would think, okay, obviously this is going to go red. It went strongly red. And I'm sure that was no surprise to, like you mentioned, the pollsters and the folks who are actually doing this. But I think it's important to note that. Because, yeah, sure, you have your, on the West Coast, the lead was just as tight, though. Oregon still has 66%. They haven't all came in, but you've got a 200,000 point lead there. California overwhelmingly, about 1.5 million. Washington, 500,000. So, there's, but it's just interesting to think that, like, tomorrow morning, however this lands and however this shapes up, people are going to have to, again, you hear this, we heard this last 4 years ago, it's going to be unity. It's going to be how does the country come into this tomorrow morning And,
Yeah.
through the holidays, into the new year, when we get to January, and reconcile the fact that this is where we land. For the next 4 years, this is where we land.
It's true.
That's how do we move forward?
As of right now, if we took the odds and the percentages, you're looking at a 312. That's a sizable victory. That is a sizable victory if everything holds. Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. If those all go Trump, that's a sizable victory. I'm very curious. I have no way of knowing as of right now. But let's look, if I can. If we, looking at this map, we go back to 2020. These are the states that changed everything. Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada.
Sure.
In 2020, these are what got Joe Biden elected.
Sure.
Were these same states.
Mm-hmm.
And what you can see, if we go back to the electoral votes, Joe Biden got 306 to Donald Trump's 232. With this going the way that it seems, quite honestly, to be going right now, we already know Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania. The consensus is Arizona is going to be right there. Nevada's leaning that way. And if Michigan and Wisconsin, Trump just blew 2020 out of the water of what Joe Biden had.
Oh, yeah. No, totally.
While close in the electoral college vote, that's a rapid change in 4 years, after 4 years of rapid change. This would be massively different from where we were in 2012, 2016. 2016 looks similar to this. But coming off of the transitional change in 2020 where we saw Georgia, Pennsylvania, especially those two, swapping over to Joe Biden, now swapping back to Donald Trump, that's pretty remarkable on that front. And so we can't take that lightly. That's a big, big change. It'll be very fascinating to see what the popular vote is.
Yeah.
Because if Donald Trump actually wins the popular vote, he'll be the first president since George W. Bush.
I know, it's crazy.
To win the popular vote as a Republican.
It's crazy sauce. Well, as it stands, all eyes still on Pennsylvania as this becomes.
Still waiting on other people to call it.
But the good news is, again, we weren't here. We're still about 4 hours ahead, which is great because
we are ahead.
Last time we were
right
doing
now.
this, we were 1 a.m., 2 a.m., still stuck in the mix, trying to figure out what on earth was happening. So, to that end, that's somewhat encouraging, I suppose, that regardless how this plays out.
The AP still holding on to 248 to 214. But in all honesty, it's looking.
Yeah,
really looking.
It's looking. So doing the loop again here. Who's got what? Kentucky coming in. We are down to the wire here. Pennsylvania still 94%.
Florida, that's a big win.
200,000 points still ahead in Pennsylvania on Trump. Kind of scanning the headlines here as it stands. AP is still reporting some of his electoral leads. Keeping an eye kind of on the line here. This is moments
This
away.
is the popular vote right here.
Yeah.
Trump leading 5 million votes. That's a big jump.
Yeah.
That's a big jump. Still not to the total of 2020's election results.
Right.
So we're a little bit less. In fact, I wonder if I can pull that up real quick.
You want that on the screen?
Not yet. I'm trying to see if I can find.
Interesting. Pennsylvania now at 95% of them reporting. And again, with every click we go down, there is still a strong 200,000 point lead for the GOP. Still looking back and forth. Again, this is something that supposedly, again, just talking about voter turnout, talking about people that, and that was such an interesting point you brought up, just like 15 minutes ago or so, with the simple choice of the Harris campaign to select a running mate from the state that's going to come back and bite them.
That honestly could be it. It really.
I mean, Pennsylvania is going to, again, I don't want us to jinx like we have in the past.
Now this is interesting. This is via Bloomberg right here. This is the prediction market odds in Bloomberg. You can see this is the time span of today.
Right.
When things started, at the very beginning, when polls started closing, they had Trump leading. Not massively, but
Sure.
in the predictability and the market, the betting odds. And then as the night has progressed, little up, little down, but then it takes off right here.
Now, about when was that?
About around 7:30 it looks like. 7:30 East Coast time, so about 4:30 our time.
Huh.
And then from then on, you're currently looking at 99% via Bloomberg. They're looking at that. It's looking good for them on that front.
And then that's that.
And then there's an interesting look down here. We can see the shift from 2016 to 2024 of the states, how they've shifted over time. North Carolina, a little bit shift to the right. Michigan, slight shift to the right. Nevada, big shift to the right. But then you have like Minnesota, New Mexico, Maine at large, kind of moving a little bit more to the left, and then kind of bouncing back up. So we got some interesting data coming out. North Carolina moving a bit more to the right since 2020, over 3 points. The big one, Florida. It's a big lead for Florida. And then on the left side, Vermont. Vermont jumping up a bit higher as well. So a lot of these states here
Sure.
really solidifying their bias, really solidifying their polarization, really solidifying where they want to be as either Republican or Democrat, depending on how they highlight themselves on that front. But without a doubt, these last few sections right here, these toss-ups, we're looking at, according to Bloomberg, still about a 200,000 point lead, 95% votes in. Wisconsin leaning to the right. Again, about 120,000 going on right here. Michigan's actually a larger lead. They are giving Michigan almost a 300,000 vote lead.
That's what I'm seeing here too. Associated Press.
Nevada.
70% coming in though.
What's shocking? I'm very shocked. Nevada told me, the people I know in Nevada said, "Hey, it's going to take a while." They got almost 80% of the vote in already.
It's cooking.
So I'm surprised. Arizona, Maricopa County already said it's going to take a while. But if Trump won Pennsylvania, Arizona doesn't matter.
Arizona, no. And now, play it back from me. We've had Arizona in the past has mattered, right? Or what's the story there?
Arizona kind of mattered in 2020.
Because I remember there was one where Arizona was really a big player.
It was big in the last one.
Got it.
If I let me pull up my Arizona map. Let's take a peek here. It's been leaning Republican.
I have a feeling that Associated Press is just going to ride this all the way to 100%.
They don't want to call it whatsoever. Now, what's interesting, again, we're seeing split tickets left and right.
Sure.
The state side in, in Vermont and New Hampshire.
Right.
We see the Republicans winning more stateside with the governor's races. North Carolina went to Trump for the presidency, went Democrat for the governorship. Right now, I'm looking at Arizona also. And we have Trump winning in the presidential side. Ruben Gallego commanding lead over Kerry Lake in Arizona Senate seat right now. Still only 56% reported in as of right now. But problematic on that front.
To say the least.
Certain people are just better candidates. Kerry Lake tried to run for governor, didn't work. Now she ran for Senate, didn't work. Maybe, let someone else go. I'm just saying, maybe you need someone else to kind of take over on that front. Jumping into Nevada leaning pretty heavily. Even the Reno area, Washoe County, heading by almost 300 votes. 300 votes in Washoe County. That's Reno. The second most important county in Nevada. Only Las Vegas matters more. But even Vegas, look how tight that is in the city of Vegas. You're not looking at a big old difference right there. The turnout just coming out strong for Trump. Across the board, Carson City and Douglas. What's very fascinating, this is an important thing. Nevada has had a supermajority of Democrats in the legislature.
Right.
So this is a big transition. The last time Nevada went red, George W. Bush. It's been a while.
Yeah. Now we're talking about old senior. George W. Bush Sr.
No, George W.
I don't know. W was young?
2000, 2004.
Okay.
So we did see that. Now, coming down to the Senate, this is where the big battle in Nevada is centered around. You can see Sam Brown kind of struggling a little bit in Washoe County, struggling in Vegas, keeping it close, though, to the incumbent Jackie Rosen. 900 vote difference. 900 vote difference. Not big. That we might be seeing that flip-flop going into tomorrow. There might be recounts in Reno. There might be recounts in Vegas. All of these states. What's very fascinating, though, again, you're not seeing the same margin as you do up here with Trump. Trump has a much stronger lead than Sam Brown does. Same ballots, same things going on. Very fascinating that people have been splitting their tickets a bit more. Bit more than usual. Coming over to Montana, we're kind of focusing. This isn't even a big one. Look at this for the Trump. That is almost a 17% spread right here. Donald Trump winning in Montana, but you go down to the Senate, very close, 4%. That is a tight race. John Tester still can eke this out, but it's going to be a hard fight for him to get all the way there in Montana. People splitting their votes. We saw it in Ohio, Pennsylvania. We come back here. Still waiting on the final, everyone else to call it for Pennsylvania. But this is interesting. David McCormick, if he ousts Bob Casey, that's a big win for the Republicans. Going to Michigan, Mike Rogers has about a 60,000 vote lead as of right now over Slotkin. That's a tight race. Neither one over 50%. You really want to see yourself over 50% to really feel good. Wisconsin, 270 is calling Wisconsin. 270 is calling Wisconsin for Trump.
I tell you what, the Associated Press is
Associated Press does not want to call these things. But Wisconsin, 270 to win, is calling it for Trump. He's now at 280,
right, yeah.
according to 270 to win.
You've got 90%, according to the Associated Press, you've got 90%, well, 89% of his precincts in with a 100,000 point lead. Same with Michigan, 70% at almost a 200,000 point lead. Pennsylvania, 95% reporting at a strong 200,000 point lead. And Associated Press is just, and I feel like, honestly, that's going to be the hammer. When the Associated Press calls it one way or the other, that's going to be the official, that's the end of it.
It will be. It most certainly will be. I'm looking at the New York Times right now. New York Times is saying that Trump is likely going to be the president over 95%. They're predicting, as of right now, that Trump's going to end with 306 electoral votes to Harris's 232. The popular vote, Trump will win 1.2% higher than Harris. So we're still waiting on those final bits and pieces. I'm going to check Wisconsin. I do want to look at just Wisconsin.
That's something.
Oh, I don't want to make an account right now.
I wouldn't make an account.
I used to have one with UNR, but it's if I go back over here, looking at the state of Wisconsin, looking at Milwaukee, did not get to 70%. She needed that to be 70% or higher to carry Wisconsin. Madison, she did get up to 75, but Milwaukee did not get up to 70%. That's going to hurt her. Donald Trump walking away right now pretty solidly. 93% estimated on the reporting, but it looks like Wisconsin's going to go for Trump. If I go down to the Senate, this is the big battle here. Tammy Baldwin, another incumbent. Right now, she's behind. She's behind about 2%, about 50,000 votes. Looking at Milwaukee, doing a little bit worse than Harris in Milwaukee, 66.7. Yeah, Kamala Harris not pulling up Tammy Baldwin. Looks like Tammy Baldwin could fall. And so if we go, I can't find my Senate map now. This one.
Oh, perfect.
I'm sorry. This is my governor one. This one. Yes. Here we go. So right now, this is our Senate map. It looks as if right now, if I go on to our forecast, this is how they predicted the forecasting would go. 52 Republicans, 48 Democrats. But what we are seeing right now, there is a likelihood of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin all going red for senators. That would put the Republicans up to 54. Include Montana. Tim Sheehy, probably going to win that one. 55. We know Kerry Lake, most likely not going to win Arizona. But Sam Brown still has a shot in Nevada, putting the Republicans 56 on the Senate side. Not enough to kill the filibuster, not enough to radically change anything in the Senate, but you have a healthy margin in a very polarized world. That is a game changer if you can hold on to that. And then moving into 2026, can you build on that? That will be the question. But as of right now, there's a very high likelihood that we could be looking at 55 or 56 Republican senators after this election's all said and done. That's a big majority in the Senate. Big majority in the Senate. Our House races are still... Refresh the page. Let's take a look. We're at 197 to 176. It's close.
It's very close.
The House is going to be very close. And this just talks to the amount of polarization we have in the country right now. This just in, the BBC is projecting Donald Trump to win. The Brits are saying that Trump is going to win. Not the Americans, but the Brits.
CBS has not called it yet. NBC also has just, looks like projected that Trump will take Pennsylvania.
NBC might be the one. AP still holding out.
Associated Press is still just not giving up.
They don't want to. They don't want to do it. But this is going to be interesting. How these House races, these last few House races play out. 62 left to kind of tell us what's going on. What is the majority that the Republicans or Democrats will have in the House of Representatives? It's going to be slim, which makes it very likely that you are going to see internal fighting, quite honestly.
Oh, yeah.
You are going to see the right wing of the Republican Party versus the left wing of the Republican Party able to stall everything because you don't have a healthy majority. Who's going to be leading it? Is it going to still be Mike Johnson? Is he going to be the Speaker of the House? Is it going to be another revolt like Matt Gaetz led against Kevin McCarthy?
Sure.
Is it going to be 14 more votes once again? Or do the Democrats pull out an arrow win? Hakeem Jeffries taking over that speakership. Time will tell, but right now, the Republicans have the favorability. They have the momentum right now. It's looking good again with Wisconsin, with Pennsylvania. All eyes now looking at Michigan. You look at the Michigan presidential map, you're over at almost 80%. You're getting close. But at 80%, Trump over 50% at that 80% mark, that's looking very solid. Very solid for Donald Trump in Michigan. And it's just going to come down to these Senate races. In Nevada, looks like Trump's pulling away in Nevada. It's at 51.4, kind of moving the needle. Sam Brown holding on to that. He's got a 4,000 vote lead right now. That's better than a 300.
Mm-hmm.
That's better than a 300. Jackie Rosen, she's begging and pleading that Reno and Vegas can pull her through this. Arizona, I don't think Kari Lake's going to be able to pull out Arizona. I think Ruben Gallego is going to win Arizona, but Donald Trump stretching that lead a little bit. Now about 21,000.
Something, man. It is absolutely something.
Nebraska's 2nd district officially confirmed for Harris, according to 270 to win. AP called that one a long time ago. This is interesting, ladies and gentlemen. This is big. But with Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, it looks like we're going to have another historical trend. Michigan's going to go towards the Republican most likely. That constant historical trend, those 3 states going together. I don't think we're going to see that one swap it out. It looks pretty solid right now.
Again, not to really push on this, but Georgia really did the Trump campaign a big solid. You know, in terms of, because like last time we were trying, they just didn't even, I mean, for them to come so quickly in this election, to be like, hey, that put so, I'm sure that put so much peace of mind on the Trump campaign's people.
I would agree.
Because that was such a hard road to hoe last time, and with Pennsylvania, just really almost what seems to be the inevitable. It is looking more and more like we're moments away. I mean, and we said this, right? here we are almost midnight now on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. And we are still waiting.
But we're doing a bit better than last time. I think last time everyone was waiting, we didn't have anyone calling any of the states last time.
That's correct.
This time we got people calling Pennsylvania, got people calling Wisconsin. We don't have to wait a week. Could be very fascinating here. I saw in the news Donald Trump campaign is celebrating right now.
Oh, I'm sure of it.
Have not seen anything from the Kamala Harris side, but they said go ahead, go to bed. This could turn into, I don't think it will, but deja vu.
I know.
Joe Biden said, hang on. Kamala Harris said, we'll check again in the morning.
I know.
I don't like that. I just like either yes or no, but it looks like it's moving in that direction for Donald Trump as of right now.
Getting an eye on what's going on there. We've got no video coming in from Trump campaign, anything live, looking at what they've got going on there. I'm sure they've got the rally. It does look like we've got some video from the Trump campaign and their headquarters, and we don't have any audio on it, but we might kind of see what they got cooking up as well. See if I can't load this up. Fascinating stuff. Absolutely fascinating. And we just wait, all eyes on Pennsylvania as we inch closer. 95% still reporting. And it's almost like everything is just stalled out briefly.
I think everyone is just nervous.
Well, can you imagine? What a difference. What a difference. People are looking at their...
Looks like Trump is about to make an announcement in West Palm Beach, their campaign headquarters. So we will monitor that. We'll see what's being said. I'm sure it's a victory speech.
It's got to be.
I don't think we're going to see...
A conceding.
I don't think we're going to see a conceding thing. We're still waiting from anything from the Harris campaign. I have not seen anything on that yet. Granted, AP still isn't calling it. The BBC is pretty much projected and called it. 270 to win.
We don't have audio on that feed, but he's looks like we're going live there. Looks like I don't have. We might get some audio on it, but let's see what we can do here. That is something though. This is just grinning.
It's a moment. It is a moment for the Trump campaign. It's a historical moment for the country, having the first president since Grover Cleveland to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. By the end of this term for Donald Trump, he will be the oldest president to have ever served. He will be older than Joe Biden is right now.
It's crazy sauce.
So there is that aspect with this as well.
Oh, we might have some audio here, it looks like. Let me see if I can wrap this up here.
This just in, the Wall Street Journal is calling it. The Wall Street Journal has called Pennsylvania. AP News is calling Pennsylvania.
No way.
AP is calling it 267. They're still waiting on Alaska, but for all intents and purposes, Wall Street Journal, AP News, New York Times, they are coming in. It looks like everyone is confirming this right now.
Wow, look at that.
Still just...
Pennsylvania, finally, AP just did, yep, at 51%. 95% of the precincts reporting, 200,000 points ahead. See if we got any audio on this. I'm not sure if we do or we don't. Let's see.
I hear applause.
I think
Well, I want to thank you all very much. This is great. These are our friends. These are thousands of friends on this incredible movement. This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy? But it's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president.
47th president. We're currently listening to Donald Trump, which sounds to be a
victory speech.
victory speech.
Yeah.
Live from where is this? The headquarters?
West Palm Beach.
West Palm Beach.
It's down in Florida.
No idea how long he will be speaking, but it does seem like, looking out over this, there is nothing further to say, except that he is the elected 47th president, is that correct, of the United States?
Most likely. I don't think any way around it at this point.
That will allow us to make America great again. And in addition to having won the battleground states of North Carolina, I love these places, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, we are now winning in Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, and Alaska, which would result in us carrying at least 315 electoral votes. But it's much easier doing what the networks did or whoever called it, because there was no other path. There was no other path to victory. We also have won the popular vote. That was great. Very proud of that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And, winning the popular vote was very nice, I will tell you. It's a great feeling of love. We have a great feeling of love in this very large room with unbelievable people standing by my side. These people have been incredible. They've made the journey with me, and we're going to make you very happy. We're going to make you very proud of your vote. I hope that you're going to be looking back someday and say that was one of the truly important moments of my life when I voted for this group of people beyond the president, this group of great people. America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate. We have taken back control of the Senate. Wow, that's good. And the Senate races in Montana, Nevada, Texas, Ohio, Michigan,
Still sounding a
Wisconsin,
lot like some of the same rhetoric in the speech, but much more muted, much more reserved, not as boastful, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But as it stands right now, we're listening to looks like President-elect Donald Trump give a victory speech. currently at his headquarters. Looking back all over what we've got, Pennsylvania has officially called it, the Associated Press, giving him essentially the big lead, with Michigan and Wisconsin looking to also go to Donald Trump. Do we have any information from the Harris campaign?
I have not seen anything from the Harris campaign as of yet. No notifications, no conceding as of right now. But I'm sure that she is going to make a statement tonight. I'd be shocked if she didn't. Especially after all these organizations are calling Pennsylvania and essentially giving the White House to Donald J. Trump. Right now, looking at Michigan, still a very sizable lead in Michigan and growing, almost to 200,000 votes in Michigan now. That's going to be pretty difficult to overcome.
Yeah. Is he still speaking?
But I want to thank my whole family,
No, he's still going
my
through the,
amazing children,
Okay.
and they are amazing children.
Well, there you go. We are currently watching the President-elect, Donald Trump, give a nice little speech, and we are still awaiting information or some type of press release from the Harris campaign. So we can see if we can't do a little location. Well, Neighborhood Nick.
We do have people already talking about what could have been. On CNN, people are already saying, no question about it, had Biden bowed out after the Dems' better than expected midterm performance and allowed a real Democratic primary to take place, perhaps the party's fate would have been different. The other question will be whether Harris should have done more to distance herself from Biden, or also chosen Josh Shapiro.
Yeah. No, it was a good call. That was a good call you made. I think, quite frankly, if that was the case, we would not be where we're at right now, especially this time in the evening. North Carolina and Virginia both.
Yeah, and people are already looking at the next big election is going to be Senate GOP leader. Is it going to be John Thune, John Cornyn, Rick Scott could also be involved in that. Could change how the Republicans operate in the Senate.
Now, let's talk about just the baggage that possibly comes with the Trump presidency. He has some legal issues. He has some things coming up against him. How does that play out?
We don't know.
Okay. And that would be
That is
Vance.
Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. He is about to give some comments.
Mr. President, I appreciate you allowing me to join you on this incredible journey. I thank you for the trust that you placed in me. And I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America. And under President Trump's leadership, we're never going to stop fighting for you, for your dreams, for the future of your children. And after the greatest political comeback in American history, we're going to lead the greatest economic comeback in American history under Donald Trump's leadership.
Thank you very much. He's turned out to be a good choice. I took a little heat at the beginning, but he was, I knew the brain was a good one, about as good as it gets. And we love the family, and we're going to have a great 4 years, and we're going to turn our country around, make it something very special. It lost that little thing called special. We have to make it so. We're going to make this so great. It's the greatest country and potentially the greatest country in the world by far, and right now we're going to just work very hard to get all of that back. We're going to make it the best it's ever been. We can do that. If we had to wait longer, I don't know. It was going bad, and it was going bad fast. We're going to have to seal up those borders, and we're going to have to let people come into our country.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Looking over the campaign information from the Harris campaign, there is apparently they cut their live stream. They had a live stream from their headquarters in Washington. It was about 3 hours long. Looks like we got some. We'll run that video here shortly. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Kamala Harris has already stated that she will not be speaking Tuesday night as planned and will instead address them on Wednesday.
Yeah, she brought a gentleman here, and there's already comments.
So that was
Shortly.
that was about an hour ago.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of comments flying specifically with not addressing her public and kind of being rough, to say the least.
It's understandable. It's understandable that
We don't have the audio on it, but I can kind of scrub it as we go here. Let me see. What is that? That's GFX3. We'll punch that up. So
this is the old live stream that was going on at Harris HQ.
this is about an hour ago. No audio on this. We'll advance just a bit.
This was in D.C.
And essentially they were waiting for something. And then a gentleman came out, essentially gave, and this is what went viral so far, Telegraph, and we'll keep on scrubbing this. A whole mess of...
Looks like this is the guy who...
Yeah, a whole bunch of agencies ran this part right here. And so we'll get audio on this. But this was the official statement given by the campaign. And after this, they loaded up the bus, and everyone disbanded. And you can kind of see a lot of the Harris supporters notably, visibly bummed out. A lot of young faces, which is interesting because you look at the demographic and you want to think, well, what was the, do you see younger voters on both sides?
You do this election season. Again, you see the majority of Gen Z and millennial females going over towards the Harris side, the Gen Z and millennial males moving over towards the Trump side. So we do see that in the data so far that has been coming out.
Yeah.
But we will... it's going to be very fascinating. It's going to be interesting seeing what the actual data is when all this is said and done. Having an idea of this navigation process of what we're going to be expecting. As we can see from this footage, definitely not the result the Harris campaign was hoping for.
A few people taking selfies, which is always important. Capture the moment where you were at. And at least that's I don't know. I mean, part of me is somewhat encouraged because you have to think about this is going to be a psychological thing come tomorrow.
This kind of announcement, when this is made, when you're not going to address your supporters, that's a terrible thing.
It's bad.
It's a terrible thing.
To send them home and not give them, because they fought with you for so long, and then you just send them home without a comment.
So there's only two possibilities. One, possibly that the Harris campaign thinks that tomorrow there's going to be some news that overturns some of these results that we see right now.
Just like in 2020.
It's possible. Or just couldn't handle addressing the supporters and admitting defeat and conceding that Trump actually won. Now, granted, this was an hour ago. Trump just gave the victory speech just now. Pennsylvania just got called.
That's correct.
So my guess is that she already knew. She had some inside information that she was going to lose Pennsylvania. And once Pennsylvania got called, it was done. There was no path for her to retain victory once Pennsylvania went away. And so the Harris campaign, for all intents and purposes, that is a a forfeit. That is a forfeit. She's not even coming out to say, as Joe Biden did in 2020, that, hey, we're going to come back fighting. It's not over yet. Nothing. Absolutely nothing from Kamala Harris herself, which is concerning. That's concerning. It makes you wonder what was the hope? What was the chance here for the Kamala Harris campaign? And
Not much.
we can see other media personalities there.
Folks are trying to report on it as well, but it looks to me essentially that the majority of your public is going home, and it is, you know, it's a good thought on it, but still it's quite the bummer to not address it. Wait until tomorrow. Yeah, possibly you're right. Maybe. I mean, but let's hypothesize that. Looking over your map here, I mean, where does that put us? You know, if we're assuming that we can pop onto this, what path to victory does the Harris campaign possibly have?
The only chance that she would have as of right now is they need Wisconsin and Pennsylvania to return to toss-up and go back into the Democratic side. There's a small way, if Pennsylvania went back, hypothetically,
Sure.
that would be beneficial. She could ink out a win in Nevada and Arizona and Michigan. But as of right now, looking over the current data, Sam Brown extending his lead right now in Nevada. There's a possible flip right there. Donald Trump, with 80% reporting in, has about 60,000 on a lead there. If we go to Arizona, Trump leading about 30,000 over there. Michigan, leading by almost 200,000 in Michigan. So definitely difficult. It's going to be difficult. I also believe there was just a marketing campaign issue for the Harris campaign.
Like the bus.
Well, this is part of the problem. She was trying to campaign as the change candidate. And
She's trying to campaign as the change candidate, but unfortunately, as an individual who's in the same administration that folks can tie problems to.
exactly. Very, very difficult, very problematic on that front. Unable to really do anything. Everyone's basically waiting on Alaska to finalize everything for the 270 call.
Because was that the general sentiment? You have 4 years of the same. Was that the mistake? Because I mean, we've identified North Carolina.
The thing was that she was trying to run as a change candidate, saying
Right.
that she was not going to be Biden, she was not going to be Trump.
Sure.
But she never found a way to really distance herself from the Biden campaign. Biden refused to let her be on her own.
Yeah.
Basically, I think one of the nails in the coffins was when Biden basically said Harris was involved with every decision this administration made.
Sure.
That, in retrospect, probably was something that damaged her heavily. The Trump campaign wasn't really forcing anything against Harris. They were just highlighting the Biden catastrophes that they could.
Sure.
Her highlight was the debate. So it begs the question, maybe if there were more debates for Trump, maybe this was smart of him to do, not having the debates after to make it look like he would lose. Having Vance take on the vice president debate, coming off hyper intellectual and very witty against Tim Walz. That was also a big highlight in that moment. So
Absolutely fascinating.
there's going to be a lot of questions tomorrow.
Well, again, I think we've identified some of those things on this broadcast. With just like I really think some strategic errors. The running mate. The running mate was a strategic error.
I think I would agree. Not using Josh Shapiro. You had Josh Shapiro. He was ready to go. I feel like he probably could have helped win over Pennsylvania. It would have been beneficial.
Yeah.
It would have been beneficial to have Pennsylvania's governor, very popular governor, on your ticket. Tim Walz didn't really bring a whole lot to that particular ticket.
And it looks like, going back over, looks like Trump is still speaking, still spending some time on the microphone there. No big, just
Go have a good time, Bobby. We're going to be paying down debt. We're going to be reducing taxes. We can do things that nobody else can do. Nobody else is going to be able to do it. China doesn't have what we have. Nobody has what we have.
so we have a lot of the same narrative, which is good. I mean, that's what he ran on. He's going to get the opportunity to share his narrative. He was elected, as it appears, so he'll.
As of right now, that is
And
the story.
Looking from our predictions at the moment, there is nothing much more that we can be doing in terms of projecting anything else other than
I'm looking.
as it lands.
It looks like the presidency is Donald Trump's. He will be, for all intents and purposes, the 47th president of the United States of America. First time since Grover Cleveland to not have consecutive terms. It will be a very fascinating next 4 years. Especially with the, once again, we will see the Senate, at least for the next 2 years, but the Senate will be the same party as the president. We have not seen an opposing Senate for the president since 2015. Ever since 2016, the Senate has been the party of the president, which is great for the president of both parties
Sure.
because they get whoever they want through judicially, ambassadors, heads of their cabinets and agencies. It's a major victory for any administration to have the Senate. We're still waiting on the House. Looking at the House, we have 197 Republicans, 178 Democrats, still 60 remaining seats to call. 16 of them are toss-ups. You're looking at the safe forecast for the Democrats at 210, the safe for the Republicans at 209.
And looking over this, going back, just looking at that Pennsylvania to solidify that, the lead has narrowed slightly. It looks like now 190,000
Yes.
versus 200,000.
Yep.
Bear in mind where we were at with Georgia. What you said was 30,000.
Georgia was much smaller
Yeah.
last time.
And then with Michigan, that's looking pretty.
Michigan right now, Trump has a pretty sizable lead going into Michigan. Again, we're close to almost 200,000 of 83% reporting. And Wisconsin. Wisconsin coming in for Trump, 130,000.
As it stands, we are. I feel like we are almost at the conclusion. We don't have to worry about having a repeat of last time.
As far as we know, as of right now. Looking at the Senate, Montana, we're still waiting a lot on the Senate race in Montana, but Tim Sheehy taking a considerable lead right now at 41% reporting. Pennsylvania, we see David McCormick, almost 100,000 with 90% reporting. Michigan, you got Mike Rogers, almost 100,000 over Elisa Slotkin. Wisconsin, Eric Hovde taking almost, getting closer to that 100,000 mark, about 70,000 over Tammy Baldwin. Big upsets in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. If the Republicans pull out this Senate, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 more to throw onto it. Then you still have Nevada. Sam Brown. Sam Brown extending his lead considerably over in Nevada with 80% reporting. He's now almost, he's about 52,000 from 300 to 52,000. That's a good thing for, I'm sorry, that was Donald Trump. Sam Brown, I'm sorry. Sam Brown is almost 10,000 ahead of Jackie Rosen. That would be another upset. Jackie Rosen being the senior sitting senator of Nevada. With all that coming together, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Montana, adding 4, that puts 55. Nevada, 56. We could be looking at 56, which is much higher than people were projecting for the Republicans in the Senate.
Sure.
We all thought it was going to be 52, maybe 53. But 56, that's a major win for Republicans if they can pull this all out.
Looks like Trump is heading out. We've got a live shot there of him along with the White House in the foreground there. Interesting night, I would say.
It's been an eventful night. It has been very eventful. It's one of those nights that hopefully we have correct.
I know.
It looks like Ruben Gallego is going to win Arizona. They don't want to call it just yet, but for all intents and purposes, it looks like Trump will win Arizona, and Gallego, for the Senate, is going to win
That concludes that live stream there. Interesting.
Arizona.
Okay. Well, that is looking like we are
Still waiting on a lot of these House battles, but the White House looks calm right now.
Once again, you've been watching the 2024 presidential coverage with the SoundGuys. We're your daily dose, weekly dose, annual dose, however we get to y'all, of daily background noise to be educational, entertaining, and enlightening.
We just now had another call in the House, so we're at 199 Republicans to 178 Democrats. 58 remaining seats to go. Going through our uncalled races. So, if we look at our uncalled races here for the House, we still have some interesting aspects here. As I was talking about, Alaska, they have their ranked choice voting. That's going to be a flip. I do not believe Mary Peltola is going to retain that seat in Alaska. She lucked out because Sarah Palin was a divisive candidate and didn't win the majority of Republicans. And the Democrat was the second one. We're looking at almost all of Arizona. The 4 big ones in Arizona. Still not 100% sure, but that one could be changing a bit more. Kevin Kiley, Ami Bera, Josh Harder. We're still waiting on a lot of California. So you can count a lot of these helping California out to help Democrats kind of fight back a bit more. Katie Porter's seat, she's retiring. She wanted to run for the Senate and failed in that. So you have kind of an open seat on that front. Looking here though, still some very close ones happening, but we're waiting on New York, California. These Ohio ones are pretty much almost done. Still waiting on more Pennsylvania ones. Washington's going to go pretty heavily for the Democrats as well. So we still we don't have a whole lot of House races left to go through, but for the most part, it's looking pretty good for the Republicans. It's looking pretty good. There's one for the Democrats coming in California. But it's not going to be an overwhelming majority in the House.
Right.
It will not be an overwhelming majority in the House. It's honestly going to be pretty close. We're going to see similar battles that we just went through with Mike Johnson, Kevin McCarthy, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert. You're going to see a lot of infighting on the Republican side to push things further to the right. But now that the Senate is solidly Republican,
Sure.
and the presidency, this is the big moment. If Republicans can hold the House,
Sure.
there's no filibuster in the House of Representatives. You just have to get the moderates and the far right members of the Republican Party to agree. The Senate looks like it's going to be able to just send whatever it wants through. For the most part, there's still the challenge of the filibuster in the Senate. But having that control over both houses of Congress and the White House, it'll be very fascinating to see if we're going to have a repeat of 2016 to 2018,
Right.
where this happened also, and Republicans weren't able to overcome Obamacare. Republicans weren't able to solidify border funding. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of infighting during that time in the Senate. You had Mitch McConnell battling. You had Paul Ryan battling. You had Trump battling. Everyone was battling back in 2016 to 2018. Are we going to see a repeat of that with even slimmer majorities?
Right.
2016, 2018, Republicans had much larger majorities in the House. Now there's a chance for more infighting. Who knows what that is going to fully look like. But right now, another one for the Democrats. It's going to be tight. The House is going to be tight. It's going to be very difficult to navigate that with very slim majorities. But this may be just this could be the function of American democracy moving forward. Very slim majorities in the House. Very slim majorities in the Senate. Lots of gridlock. Lots of polarization. We could be looking into that as we take a look back at our Senate maps. We're still waiting on more data to come in. Looks like that's about the same. That one's looks like Mike Rogers is pushing forward a bit more. He's overcome the 100,000. He has a 100,000 vote lead at least. Eric Hovde, still about the same. But those would be big. Ruben Gallego, for all intents and purposes, Arizona is probably going to go with the Democratic senator and a Republican president. So we have a split ticket on that front. Which does make you wonder, Kari Lake, what is it about Kari Lake that Arizonans don't like?
I'm not familiar, and yeah, that's a great point. I'm not familiar with the platform. Kari Lake
is Donald Trump's chosen person. He wanted her to run for governor, and she lost the governorship. Pushed for her to run for the Senate. He's winning the presidency in Arizona. She's not pulling through in the Senate.
Interesting.
By a very large margin. 100,000 for Kari Lake difference between Ruben Gallego. 30,000 lead for Trump.
They're not going to give that to her at all.
Unless Trump is able to pull this by getting over 100,000, even that I don't think is going to pull Kari Lake above the necessary threshold that she needs to get to beat Ruben Gallego. It looks like Kari Lake is not going to win the Senate. Donald Trump looks to be leading and winning the presidency in Arizona.
Slim, close to what we had with Georgia. It's 30,000 points.
Could be.
But I feel like if we bring into retrospect from where this was at last time we did this, looking at 4 years ago. Just now midnight on the West Coast. This is a totally different place than we were at
Completely.
2 years at 2 o'clock on the a.m. on the West Coast.
Completely. We were looking at Democrats Democrats were able to get Georgia to go into a runoff,
Sure.
which was big.
Sure.
We were looking at the House of Representatives going back to Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats in that election, and Donald Trump not getting through in Pennsylvania, Georgia, those other Rust Belt states, and Arizona and Nevada. So it's a big moment. It's a big moment for the Republicans. This is what they wanted back in 2022.
Yeah.
2022 was supposed to be a big red wave. Didn't happen.
No.
Did not happen. And it begs the question, the Trump campaign, in comparison to 2020,
Right.
this is the best campaign Trump has run from 2016, 2020. He not only ran, he ran very moderate
Right.
in comparison. He was much more toned down, controlled. Maybe that has to do with his age. Maybe slight slowing down compared to 2016, 2020.
Sure.
That could be possible. But I think he saw what the difference was between 2020 and 2024, and he made the necessary adjustments that had to be made to give him a shot at winning this.
Yeah.
And as we can see, the Senate seems to be following along. What's interesting is that these are some of the candidates that people wanted in 2022,
Right. Right.
as opposed to Trump's chosen people. Example in Pennsylvania, McCormick
Right.
over Mehmet Oz. So there's that possibility as well, that we are seeing maybe better candidates that people actually believe in, better candidates that have a chance to actually look more moderate, or in some cases more conservative, as in the case of Montana. That could be some of the factors here, that Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania sending out better options than what was in 2022. And it does make you kind of also wonder what would have happened if you had better candidates in 2022. Are we looking at a supermajority for Republicans in the Senate right now, as opposed to having a decent majority right now? We're already moving above the groundwork that people thought was possible. I mean, the Senate map here, we've solidified 51, but Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, we know Montana's going to switch. That's going to be 52. Sam Brown's extending his lead. There's a chance of 56 Republican majority. No one was expecting that. No one was calling that. No one thought that was going to happen. It's looking that way. Coming back to our House of Representatives, the Democrats are slowly ticking back up. They're at 183 to 199. The Republicans are kind of not fermenting, but solidifying what they needed. They still need 19. They still need 19 more seats in order to make sure they got it. And right now, it looks like 10 are guaranteed to go Republican. So they still need about 9 more after that. Where's it going to come from? I don't know. But we still got a shot. There's still a chance for either party in the House. There's no guarantee in the House right now for either side.
Again, it's so fascinating. And it's weird because it feels, I don't want to say it feels anticlimactic, but it doesn't have the same zing. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. It doesn't have the same zing. We went into this with an open mind, expecting whatever. But I think just you can feel how tense the country is, and you can feel just at large what's happening.
Yep.
So I was very much going into this expecting it to be somewhat of a repeat from the 2020, just because I was expecting it to feel like it was much closer. I feel like this doesn't feel close at all.
Doesn't feel as close as 2020. I mean, I'm still AP still at 267. Kamala Harris at 224. They have yet to finally call everything. But 270 to win. We got 280 Trump, 224 Harris. Michigan, Nevada, Arizona, the last few things of Maine. I'm very curious to see the final popular vote tally,
Yeah.
because that will tell you everything.
Sure.
When Republicans win the popular vote, they have yet to experience the same pain that Democrats have felt when they lose the Electoral College.
Right.
Democrats have lost the Electoral College in 2000 and 2016. Winning the popular vote with Hillary Clinton and Al Gore. Republicans have yet to experience that pain of winning the popular vote and losing the Electoral College.
Sure.
So the campaigning, where you campaign, truly does matter. Trump spent a lot of time in North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, Michigan.
That's an interesting thing too, is you don't think that it matters, but clearly the physical presence did.
Harris spent a lot of time in Pennsylvania.
Oof.
Harris spent a lot of time in Pennsylvania. That was where her entire ground game for the last few days of the campaign, everything was in Pennsylvania. And so
It didn't pay off.
it did not pay off. Her message was not where it needed to be for her to finally get ahead and win that campaign over there. And that, even if the hypothetical, coming back to this hypothetical, if we took Pennsylvania off and kept Wisconsin, if she had won Pennsylvania and Trump wins Nevada, that 267 comes down to Michigan and Arizona. She would need to win both of those to have a shot. But even with Pennsylvania losing Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, if she had gotten Nevada, still would have lost. She would have needed both Michigan and Arizona, even with Pennsylvania, because of the loss of Wisconsin.
So we give the GOP Michigan,
It's over.
and we give Harris campaign Pennsylvania.
It wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah, I see it.
She would have needed to win both of these because of the loss of Wisconsin.
Yeah, no, I see it.
The loss of Wisconsin is making it where it would have been impossible for her as well, even with Pennsylvania. But because she lost Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, and frankly, it looks like Nevada, Arizona, and Michigan currently leaning towards Donald Trump, you're looking at 312 to 226 for all intents and purposes. That is, in an electoral college, what we would call a landslide. And especially if the popular vote reflects this also,
Right.
which would be the first time Donald Trump has won the popular vote.
Which we won't really know until.
We won't know until maybe tomorrow. I saw a few slides from other broadcasters kind of going through the popular vote, but again, we won't fully know until that beautiful number comes out. It's fascinating to watch. It's fascinating to see how this all came about. And again, we're still just, for all intents and purposes now, waiting on the Senate to finish. I don't know if we're going to get any more results, though,
Right.
tonight.
I'm
I don't think...
not sure. Well, as it stands, I don't think there's much more we can do. What do you think, neighborhood Nick?
There's not a whole lot. We're still waiting on these last West Coast states for the House of Representatives. It's going to be it's a dogfight for those last House of Representative seats. Because these are the ones that honestly we're not going to have the greatest information on moving forward. We can predict at least a 209, 211.
Right.
That still leaves 15. 15 that could go either which way. If you look over here, we come down to these uncalled races. I mean, I can make my prediction here. I predict that, if I can, I need an interactive map for this. Where's my interactive maps? House, interactive map. So as of right now, they're predicting 2.7 to 2.10. If I come down here to the most competitive, I think we're going to see Alaska. That's going to go red. Arizona 1. That's going to be close, but I think it's probably going to go red at this point. But look at the president margin. President's leading Kamala Harris on that one. So it could go either way. Siskamani is the incumbent. Very close here with the president leading. That could go either way, but benefit of the doubt, the incumbent usually gets here. This one, definitely going to go blue. This one's definitely going to go blue. This one's leading. He's been there a long time, but this one could be an upset, but I think it's going to go red. This one's going to go blue, which Michelle Steele, she's been around a while. I'm sorry, no. Yes, that is Michelle Steele's right there. Katie Porter's district, probably going to go blue. This one in Colorado. We have this one kind of leaning towards Republican. This one's going to be a true toss-up until the photo finish here, but slight edge. This one will be interesting. This could be toss-up. I'm going to say that one goes blue. This one's going to go blue. Any others down here? This one looks like it's going to go blue. That one, blue. This one's probably red. And that one, red. With all of those votes, we're looking at a 219 Democrats holding the House to 216 Republicans. You need 218 to have the majority in the House. Meaning, if just two people,
Right.
defy the Democratic Party in this scenario, that could cause absolute chaos. If the Republicans can squeak out some of those really close toss-ups,
Right.
and get that majority again, who knows? But with a 3, this would be probably the slimmest lead you could possibly get, minus a 218, 217.
Which really what that means is that in the grand scheme of things, a lot of stuff isn't going to get done because there's going to be so much opposition.
Not necessarily in the House. In the House, you just need to have that one vote.
Got it.
There's no filibuster in the House. But, that being said, your further extreme members, shall we say,
Right.
have a lot more leverage. Looking at your far left, your far right, they will have a lot more leverage to change policy on that crucial aspect, those crucial votes. Because you only have, in this case, 2 votes to give up.
Right.
Meaning you have to have everyone in your caucus lined up, ready to go, extremely, extremely close. Not where you want to be for either side in the House of Representatives. Republicans are going to celebrate the Senate. They're celebrating the presidency. Mike Johnson not sleeping happy with the House of Representatives. Hakeem Jeffries not sleeping happy with the way that it's looking for the Democrats. And we're still just going to be kind of waiting to figure out where all this is going to go.
Well, Neighborhood Nick, I am, as always, it is a pleasure and an honor to broadcast next to you when it comes down to educational entertainment. And a good thing, too.
Mike Rogers did extend his lead. We got a little more data from Michigan.
Oh, really?
So Mike Rogers did extend his lead. He's at 118,000, almost 119,000 vote lead. Eric Hovda coming in Wisconsin, getting a little bit more data here as well. Almost at that 100,000 mark. Picked up, you're still around 70,000. It's going to be big. Arizona, nothing's going to come from Arizona, so we can close that. And Nevada, Sam Brown holding on to his lead. 8,000 votes now, almost 9,000 votes. So he's increasing that a bit. Still around 78%. So we could be waking up tomorrow with 56 elected Republicans for the Senate, a Republican president, and a Democratic House. Could be wild. Could be wild.
Well,
but there's no real more information
There's
that
really nothing more
we can give at this point.
When we wake up tomorrow, well, we did it.
We've done it once again.
Once again, we
and
have.
maybe this time it will actually stay true.
I know. Last time, this was not the way we were signing off because we were waking up to a much different reality. As it stands now, it looks like I think we have properly vetted the data, and it appears that we are looking at the GOP nominee, President-elect Donald Trump, 47th.
47th.
Well, folks, I think that pretty much sums up our broadcast. We appreciate y'all joining us. We hope that it has been educational, enlightening, and entertaining. As always, it is the SoundGuysPodcast.com. Whenever we show up, however we show up, we're always there at some particular point in time.
And maybe next time we'll get that green screen working.
Maybe next time. Just next time.
There's a chance. There's a chance.
I mean, it's still there.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful green screen.
It's beautiful.
Looks great. Looks phenomenal. Just
didn't happen.
Don't know. Don't care. It's okay. We didn't really need it after all anyways. I think we had a great broadcast. It was well done. Thanks to Neighborhood Nick, to all of the hard work that he's put into the assets and the whole thing. Thanks to the team for hanging out and actually being a part of the whole thing here and actually, making sure that this broadcast happened seamlessly. We couldn't have done it without everybody here.
Nathaniel Verstappen, you killed it today.
Verstappen, everybody.
Thank you for voting also. That's very important that you did that.
It is important to vote, and hopefully you all voted as well. We will be signing off with a live look, I guess, of the White House, Washington, D.C. It seems appropriate, only fitting to do that. And other than that, next time we see y'all, who knows when, but we are the SoundGuysPodcast.com. Neighborhood Nick, anything else you want to share before we go?
Be sure to subscribe to the channel that you've been watching this entire night. We're also on Spotify, CastBox, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, so be sure. Follow, subscribe, help us climb that algorithm. We're still here. We still make some stuff. So you don't want to miss out. You really don't want to miss out on things like this. And have a pleasant tomorrow.
This looks like an advertisement for like a law firm.
It's an infomercial.
Yeah.
I'm waiting
have you been injured?
I'm waiting for the survival people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you need that 20,000 pound
You sure
barrel
do.
of rice.
You
Let
do.
me tell you, that is going to
20,000
be
thing of rice.
what you need.
You need that. You need to.
And
you know,
beans. You gotta get your beans.
And if you've
And
been
we
on-
got 50 gallons of mac and cheese waiting for you.
Low payments, $29.99. You can't go
I
wrong.
don't know why I did a southern voice with that though.
It was kind of insulting.
Was it?
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been.
I could try something else in the
It's
future.
okay. We insult people. It's how it works out. It's all right
Very
though.
true. It's true.
Anywho, to that end, I think that was it. We let's not start a whole nother show.
We'll be back.
We'll be back, but not.
Just not for this.
Yeah. so-
Not for a few years.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll be back with an episode soon.
Everybody, be well. Cheers.
Have a pleasant tomorrow.